I'll get it for you, Your Honor.
Can you let me know the penal code as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know. I'm interested to see or hear that one. Anthony, I'm your next witness. Thank you very much.
CHRISTINA was GORZELL.
Your Honor, you inquired earlier, it was 9.0 for the Texas Penal Code.
All rise for the jury.
Thank you. You're good. You can bring him in. You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on time, and we can get rolling already. State, call your next witness.
The state calls SMPD evidence tech Gozell.
Please rise and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's back there. If you would, if you adjust yourself in the seat there, and then you probably want to be about a fist apart from the microphone. Court reporter is taking down everything you say, and she has on headphones. It's very helpful if it picks it up. Please tell us your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Christina Gorzell, CHRISTINA GORZELL.
State.
Yes, Your Honor. Where are you employed currently?
Mr. Giebert, I'm sorry, your microphone, please.
Where are you employed currently?
I'm currently employed with the San Marcos Police Department.
And what is your role at the San Marcos Police Department?
I'm a crime scene investigator and evidence technician.
What background or education do you have to hold that role with the San Marcos Police Department?
I have my bachelor's degree in forensic science, and then I also have my basic certification for evidence technician.
And when you say basic certification as an evidence technician, what is that? Where did you receive that?
It's just various training taken just whenever we have courses come up that we think would be, I guess, good for us to use in the field. We take them when it is.
And your bachelor's degree that you have, what is that in again?
In forensic science,
And what types of courses, what types of classes did you go through to get that degree?
numerous different types of classes. So we had our prerequisites, and then we had those that did focus on forensic science, such as blood spatter analysis, crime scene investigation, just different courses like that.
Do you have to do any continuing education as part of your job at SMPD?
Yes, we try to do as much training as we can whenever we see courses pop up.
And by courses pop up, are those courses held by SMPD or by outside agencies?
Either or,
How long have you been at your job at SMPD?
just a little over a year.
So were you the evidence technician or the crime scene investigator on May 22nd, 2020?
I was not.
I actually want to talk about then how we can be sure that the evidence we have is from that day. As a evidence tech that's been there for a year, how does SMPD track evidence generally?
So when an officer brings in items of evidence, they will package it and seal them in our processing room back at the department, and then enter each item of evidence into our online system called QTEL. QTEL will then print a unique barcode for each specific item of evidence, and on that barcode, we will have the case number, item number, and even a barcode number that is just for a single piece of evidence.
So every piece of evidence that's brought in is given that unique barcode
Correct,
and assigned to the case that it's related to.
correct.
Is this database that you're talking about able to then track that piece of evidence when people, I guess, check it in or check it out?
Yeah, so every time that barcode is scanned, it is documented in our online system. If we're transferring that item to a different location, or if somebody's having to check it out for court, for instance, it is notated in that system.
And have you been able to review all of the physical evidence in the case that we're here today?
Yes, sir.
And how were you able to determine which evidence applied to this case?
I was able to just look up the case number, and it would give me all the items of evidence that were entered under that case number.
Were you then able to check and see if all of the evidence that was entered back on May 22nd is the same evidence we have today?
Yes, sir.
And is it the same evidence that we have today?
Yes, sir.
How many items did you bring with you today to court?
7.
And have you been able to review all of those items?
Yes, sir.
When you say that you were able to review them, what does that actually mean?
It's just looking at the item itself, making sure that the officer at the time did package it correctly, or if the item has been opened since then, and just making sure that it was resealed.
So when you looked at those items of evidence, did you have to unpackage them and then repackage them again?
I believe some of them, but if it's in a clear packaging, we usually keep it in a clear packaging.
Can you explain that just a little bit more?
On like the ones I had to open,
Sure.
so it would just be if it was like in a manila envelope that we aren't able to clearly see the item, we would have to cut it open just so we can view the item and then stick it back in the envelope and reseal it.
And anytime you reopen and reseal a package, is that documented?
Yes, sir.
But if you're just looking at, as you said, a clear plastic bag, you wouldn't necessarily need to document that.
We wouldn't, but we would still be checking it out, so it would still kind of be documented in that way.
Okay, so it is still documented even when you look at it.
Correct.
Okay. Those 7 items of evidence that you brought today, did you have to check those out before even coming to court today?
Yes.
Allowing permission to approach.
You may.
And actually, as you give this to me, is there something that we need to do before I take custody of evidence.
Yeah, so since I did check them out to bring to court, I do have a transfer receipt, that you will need to sign, just saying that I will be giving them to you, they will be in your custody.
Let's do that right now. Now. Pull up what we have pre-marked these as. The document or the physical evidence that I just showed you and defense, all six of those items, when you reviewed them, are they in the same or similar state from when you reviewed them last?
Yes,
And are those all pieces of evidence that were documented as being received on May 22nd of 2020?
yes,
Your Honor, at this time, state authors what have been pre-marked as states 66 through 71.
Your Honor, request that he identify which exhibits are which.
Your Honor, I can do that. Exhibit 66 will be the cross charm. Exhibit 67 will be the dog tag. Exhibit 68 will be the shell case or the bullet casing. Exhibit 69 will
Your Honor,
be.
could we have the witness identified?
Your Honor, we can do that.
No, we've got the predicate. Do you have you've seen the exhibits and you've seen which number is attached to them. Do you have an objection to any of them?
I do not, Your Honor.
States exhibits 66 through 71 are admitted.
And we'll use the exhibit numbers as we go through them individually. Your Honor, can the witness step down from the stand as we show these pieces of evidence?
Yes.
Come actually around here.
I need for her to really speak up, or if you want to use a microphone.
Okay, well, let's speak up really loudly when we talk to the jury, okay? Let us know if we do need
I
to
will.
grab the mic. Can you get the mic ready? Okay. Let's start. That is the correct order. Okay. Starting with State's Exhibit 66. Can you explain to us basically what this is when it comes to how it was entered into evidence at S&P?
What is that item number?
It is item number 009.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Can you just briefly explain how this was entered into evidence at S&P?
So normally when the officer, he would have had to have brought it in, packaged it, with the clear packages, they will heat seal them. They won't use a actual like tape. So as you can see where his initials and date are, it has been heat sealed.
It has been what sealed?
Heat sealed.
And what was it described as? Sorry.
It was a white metal cross with Jubilee B-Set-3 engraved, located near a Miller Lite can on concrete near driver's side of suspect vehicle.
And because this is in a heat sealed package, are we actually able to pass it around to the jury members
That's fine.
as long as they don't open it?
Yes, sir.
They don't need gloves for this either because it's in that package, correct? Moving on to 008, what was that described as?
Description shows black colored metal dog tag with lettering located next to Miller Lite can on concrete near driver's side of suspect vehicle.
So this one, since it's in, let's move on to what's been marked as 003, which is State's Exhibit 69.
003, description is 5 federal 380 rounds located inside of the magazine, inside of suspect's firearm, which was located inside the suspect vehicle on driver's side back seat.
And Your Honor, I believe that I miscounted. We would offer the 1 round from the pistol chamber, which is in a separate package than the other bullets that weren't fired. As State's Exhibit 82, I don't believe that this one was pre-marked correctly.
Any objections to State's Exhibit 82?
Is that the round, the casing, or the complete round?
It is the complete round from the chamber.
No objection.
State's Exhibit 82 is admitted.
Now, these 3 that we have to open, did you bring a device to help us open those?
I did.
Did you got that for us now? Let's start with Exhibit 68, which is, I guess, your number 007.
Description is 1 federal 380 spent bullet casing located underneath the suspect vehicle near the front driver's side tire.
Can you please open that for us? And since this is also in a package, can we actually pass this?
Yes, sir.
Let's move on to what's been marked as State's Exhibit 70, also S&P lab number 00.
So it's gonna be a multicolored 6-hour P238 380 caliber handgun with empty 6-round capacity magazine located inside a suspect vehicle.
Can you open that for us? And lastly, can you open what's been marked as State's Exhibit 71? Also, S&PD number 004.
That one description says it is a Miller Lite beer can with holes ripped through both sides of the can, located approximately 7 to 8 feet away from the rear driver's side of the vehicle.
Go back in the can for us. And then I'll also have you put back 007 into its package as well. So now that I've signed that piece of paper that we did earlier on direct, are we able to keep these documents or these pieces of physical evidence here with us in court for the remainder of trial?
Yes, sir.
Did the state originally ask you to bring the knife or the window tactical pen that was collected in this case?
No.
If we believe now that those are potentially necessary based on how trial has gone, would you be able to potentially go get those from SMPD and come back so that we can present them to the jury?
Yes, sir.
Would you do that for us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Judge, we pass the witness at this time.
Defense?
We'll say cross until she returns with the knife and attack pin.
Fair enough.
Judge, can she be excused subject to recall?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. You're free to go about your business, but if I understand they've requested you to go do that and you're going to come back, remember that you remain under oath and you remain under subpoena.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. State, call your next witness.
Staples Peyton King.
Ma'am. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, please have a seat. Move yourself close forward. I can tell you kind of have a low voice from that, yes, sir.
I'll speak up.
Okay, well, and what you can also do is you can move the base there closer and it adjusts upwards and downwards. So it's even closer than that. The ideal is about a fist between you and the microphone. There you go. Even a little closer, just so that we can hear you. All right, if you would, please tell us your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Peyton King, and it's PeytonKing.
State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Peyton, did you previously go by a different last name?
Yes, my last name was Price.
And how do you know the defendant?
How do I know Josh?
Yes.
He's my husband.
How long have you been in a relationship with?
I lived with Josh since 2016.
And is that in high school or in college or something else?
He was one of my very first friends in college.
Are you familiar with the fact that the defendant is legally blind?
Yes,
And how long has he been legally blind?
his entire life.
Has it gotten worse while you were dating and now married?
Slightly, yes.
And I just want to understand a little bit about the degree of his blindness.
Sure.
Can he walk around places without help?
He can walk around, now say we're in a crowd of people, if we were to be separated, he could not find me. I would have to go and find him.
Can you tell who different people are?
It depends. He might have to get close. He might need to get closer to you to tell your features.
Does he have a stick that some individuals that are truly cannot see anything blind?
No, he does not have a stick, but he cannot drive, and he has poor depth perception.
Does he write? Like, can he take notes?
He can write, but he needs to get very close to the paper.
And can he read?
Yes, but again, he must get very close. He can see things better up close.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the defendant's weak and athletic abilities. At the time of the incident, do you know how much the defendant weighed?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I do not.
Is he approximately the same size today as he was back in May of 2020?
I'm not sure, we may have gained a little bit more weight, I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Is he athletic in nature?
I mean, we were both athletic in high school.
Was he ever in any sports in high school?
When he was in high school, he did wrestling. I believe he tried football, but football was a little bit difficult due to his position.
And was he also on the track team, as far as you know?
No, I don't think so.
So he was on the wrestling team and the football team, though.
I don't think he was actually on the football team. I think he tried football, but it was difficult due to his vision. He excelled in wrestling where it was close.
Now, I want to talk about the night of the shooting. Did you provide a written statement to the defendant's attorney to give to law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
May I approach the witness?
May.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 83, if you would take a look at it.
This is not exactly what I wrote.
Do you have a copy of what you did write?
I don't on my person, but I'm sure that we could find one.
Did you give an oral statement to law enforcement on the date of the incident?
I did, I spoke to them, but on that day I was under the influence.
And we'll get into all of that. So I want to go back and talk about State's Exhibit number 83. Do you know why the copy that law enforcement received was not a copy of, an accurate copy of what you wrote?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, with our first counsel, they wanted to change some things in my statement to better fit their narrative. And that's part of the reason why we have new counsel, because we didn't feel comfortable changing what happened.
So you provided a statement to their attorneys, is that correct?
Not the attorneys that are present, our previous attorney.
And they changed that statement and provided it to law enforcement? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes. It is mostly the same, but there are some changes that we didn't feel comfortable because it wasn't the truth.
And I only want to talk about your statement and what you said. We unfortunately can't get into what the defendant said, and we can't get into what other people said, because that would be hearsay under the law, okay? So we're going to talk about what you know and what you remember from that night, okay?
Sure.
Did you meet up? So I want to start from the beginning of that night.
Sure.
What were y'all doing?
Well, it was right after quarantine and things were starting to open up a little bit. It had been a little while since we saw any of our friends, and so we spoke to one of our dear friends, Alexandra, and we decided that we wanted to meet up to go to a bar and eatery called Jimmy's.
And did you go there?
We did not go to Jimmy's because they were closed, but we did end up going down the square to a place called Sean Patrick's.
When you got there, who all was present?
Well, at first it was just the three of us. It was me and Alexandra and Josh. We hung out, we enjoyed our time together, and I believe Alexandra was messaging her brother Chris. And because we know him and we're friends with him as well, we asked him if he wanted to join us.
And so did in fact all of those individuals join you at that location, Sean Patrick's?
Yes,
When you were there, did you meet anyone that first time that you were at Sean Patrick's?
not the first time, no. It was just us.
What did you do, or when did you leave and why did you leave?
We left Sean Patrick's because another friend, it was her birthday. Her name is Charlene Wells. She was having her birthday over at a restaurant, I think it's called Craft House. It was just down the street a little bit. So during that time, I believe Josh went to work for a little while, and we went to to go and tell her happy birthday. We were gonna try to go in with her, but the line was really long and it was gonna be an hour wait. So we then decided to go back over to, Sean Patrick's.
When you got back to Sean Patrick's, could you go immediately inside?
No, we had to wait in line. They were only doing 25% capacity at a time.
And who all was with you in line?
In line, it was me and Josh and Chris and Alexandra, and then just other patrons who were waiting to go inside.
Did you meet anyone while you were at Sean Patrick's that second time?
Yes, I did.
Where did you meet them?
In line, waiting to go inside.
And who was that individual that you met that night?
JC Rodriguez.
And what was your first impressions of JC?
Well, and this is the part of the statement that reads differently than what truly happened that night. In the statement, they wanted to change it to where he.
And we can't, this statement is not introduced, so we
Oh,
can't go
okay.
into
Hold
what
on.
was in that statement, but what you remember. is
One at a
what?
time, please.
I'm sorry, you wanted to know what was it? When did I meet him?
When
Or,
did you meet him?
I met him in line.
And what were your first impressions?
Well, I noticed that he was alone. Everybody was kind of in their little groups talking while we were in line. And he was just standing in line quietly. And he was behind us. And while you're in line, sometimes you just strike up conversations with people. I noticed that he was wearing dog tags. I come from a military family. My dad was in the military, both my grandparents. And so I asked him, hey, did you serve? And that's kind of how we struck up conversation. He told me that the necklace was a gift from his mother. I don't believe that he did serve. He just liked the necklace, so it was a gift.
Was he wearing that on the inside or the outside of his clothes, from what you remember?
Of
His
his,
dog tags. The inside or the outside of his clothes?
well, I believe it was on the outside of his clothes. I wouldn't have been able to see it if it was in a shirt.
So you started talking to him, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you continue talking whenever you went inside?
So we spoke more outside. We talked about his necklace. We talked about a TV show called Vikings, because there was another patron who kind of looked like the main character in the Viking show. And then we all went inside. I thought that was the end of it. Most of the time, if you talk to somebody at the grocery store in line, you don't think that they're going to be with you the rest of the evening. I thought that was the end of our time together, but I went and sat down at the table, and I believe that during this time, while him and my friends were at the bar, they asked him if he'd like to join us. And so he then sat with us at the table.
And y'all allowed him to sit at the table with y'all, is that correct?
Yes, he was all alone, and
You're
he
friendly.
seemed okay.
Okay, so at this point, he seems okay, you're hanging out and you're talking, is that right?
That's correct.
Did anything out of the ordinary happen while you were at the bar?
Yes, some of the conversation was strange. I remember, when we were exchanging names and stuff, he told us his name was JC, and he asked me, do you want to guess what JC stands for? And so we played the guessing game of what his initials stood for, which was, I don't know, I don't know if he was flirting or if he was just trying to be friendly. And then while we were talking, he brought up just on his own that he had gone to prison. And that kind of sent off red flags. Again, in my family, I have family in law enforcement as well. So me not thinking, I blurted out, oh, well, what did you go to prison for? Not realizing how rude that was in the moment. But he told us that he did go to prison, and that it was because he drove under the influence, and that he ended up hurting his then wife.
Okay, so you had some conversations with him, and you got this information, and y'all continue to hang out, is that right?
Yes, we talked more. We talked about, how he is.
And we can't get into all the details regarding the conversations that occurred out there that night. That's the same thing as the hearsay that we talked about, but we can talk about what your impressions were and what you saw, what you observed, and what you did that night, okay?
Well, part of the impression is from the conversation. He mentioned that
And we're not gonna get in, you have to wait until I ask the question, okay?
okay, I just want to explain why we allowed him to stay with us that night.
Okay, I'll give you a chance to do that, okay?
Sure.
So, did you continue to hang out with him after you learned this information?
Yes, but
And,
there was further information as to why we allowed him to stay with us.
sure, why did you allow him to stay?
He told us that he did regret what happened and that he had found, you know, God, he was a very faithful and religious man, and that he even felt like he did not do his full time, that he had great regret. And so we talked about how, you know, mistakes don't define who you are, and that everybody deserves second chances. And so it just made us feel more at ease.
So it would be fair to say that he's remorseful for what happened.
Yes, he was remorseful for what had happened.
And after learning that, you felt comfortable having him to continue to hang out with y'all.
Yes,
How long did you stay at that first floor John Patrick's with JC? Do you remember?
I don't remember how long we stayed there, no, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I only want you to say what you actually remember from that night while we're talking here today. I just want the truth and what you remember. Can you tell me where the next place y'all went to was? And if you don't remember, that's okay.
I believe we went back to the Vistas. I'd have to review my statement, but I believe that we went to the Vistas. It's where my husband and myself had previously lived. And I believe that we went up to the rooftop to continue hanging out.
And at this time, who all is hanging out?
It's still the same group of people.
And you'll let him come with you even though you had just met him that night?
Yes. I've made many friends while in college, just kind of randomly, you know, in the cafeteria, getting lunch, in the library. You know, you pick up friends sometimes in places like the square. So he seemed younger. I didn't realize that he was older. I thought he was a college student.
How old did he look to you at that time?
In his 20s, like how we were.
And regarding his physical appearance, would you be able to estimate how much he weighed?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
I asked her if you knew, Your Honor, she can answer for you.
Overall,
I wouldn't be able to guess how much he weighed, but he was not a tall man.
Was he,
He was he looked like he was college age. He didn't look, I don't know, I'm sorry. He looked like he was about our age.
how would you describe him weight-wise? Skinny, regular, overweight?
Objection leading.
to stay.
How would you describe how he physically appeared?
I mean, he's Hispanic, dark complexion, dark hair. This could be false memory, I don't know. I feel like dark clothing, dog tags. He wasn't a very tall man, and I would say average build, maybe.
Is he shorter or taller than you?
I think he was tall. I'm 5'2", so most people are taller than me. I have not seen him in a very long time, but I do not remember him being a very tall man.
Do you recall if he was shorter or taller than the defendant?
No, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Do you remember if he weighed more or less than the defendant?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Overall,
I'm sorry, I don't know how much he weighed, or he just was of average build, I would say.
Okay. So at this point, you're hanging out at the Vistas.
Mm.
Do you have to leave that location?
We do end up leaving.
Do you remember why?
We were only allowed to be there for a short while. They allowed us to be there. Josh, we didn't live there at the time, but we had previously, so we asked if we could go up to the rooftop, and the staff there allowed us, but they told us we had to leave at a specific time, which we were going to, because we wanted to go back to the bars to continue celebrating. And so we then left to go back to the bars.
Okay. And do you recall about what time it was when you left the bars a second time?
It was late. If I remember correctly, I think the bars reopened or they were opening around 12, so maybe around 11:40-ish.
Okay. Do you know how much at this point you had to drink?
Oh, I don't think any of us were really keeping track. We were just talking and drinking and enjoying each other's company.
Did you have any drinks the first time you were at Sean Patrick's?
Yes,
Did you have drinks the second time you were at Sean Patrick's?
I think so.
Did you drink anything when you were on the rooftop bar or the rooftop area of the Vistas?
I think so, but I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Could you describe your level of intoxication at this point?
I mean, I was having a good time. I don't know, I'm sorry. I was, it's not as if I couldn't walk, I could walk. We were just walking around the square having fun.
So where did you go after you left the Vistas?
I want to say the Green Parrot, but, I don't want to tell you wrong. It was just another one of the bars on the square.
Did you continue to drink while you were there?
Maybe a little, but I started to not feel well. I don't drink very often, so when I do, I just don't do very good. And so I remember telling everybody, I'm ready to go home. I've had enough fun, I'm ready to go.
And at that point, who was supposed to be driving that night?
So I beat myself up for 4 years, but Josh doesn't drive. I just had too much to drink and we didn't feel comfortable driving home. And so, sorry.
So did you call an Uber at this point?
No, I think that we had previously talked about maybe calling an Uber, but if you leave your car parked out at the square, I can't remember, there's something that happened. It's either a ticket or you get towed. And so, we asked our friends if they would mind driving us.
And which friends did you ask to have drive you?
Well, this is where things get a little confusing because I thought our friend Chris drove us home.
Okay, so your recollection was that Chris drove you home.
Chris and Josh are the ones that walked with me to the car. I vegged out in the back seat and took a nap. And I was under the impression that, it was Josh and Chris would be in the car.
Now, when you got, do you recall anything about the drive home?
Just bits and pieces. I was laying down, so I could just see, the lights when we drove by. It was dark. But I was mostly sleeping.
And would it be fair to say at this point you were very intoxicated?
I mean, I was cozy in the backseat. Yes, I was napping.
Okay, and was that because of the alcohol that you consumed, that you were napping in the back?
That, and also it was very late. I'm assuming by this point it was probably past 12 o'clock. And we were just tired. Part of the reason we went home, I was just tired and ready to go home.
Okay. But your recollection was that Chris was the one that was driving, not you.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to talk about a firearm that's located in your vehicle. Whose
Yes.
firearm is that?
So I've never owned a firearm in my life until Miss Mama, Josh's grandmother, because I cross over many county lines, just because my family lives far away or my job. She thought it would be good for me to have one for safety in my car.
And did she give you that weapon to keep in your vehicle?
I guess to do with what I will, I've always just kept it in my car in a little part in the middle that opens and closes.
Do you know whether or not the defendant is familiar with firearms?
Yes, him and his family, they do hunt. They have a lease and Josh has gone up to the lease of his family since he was a little boy.
Have you seen him shoot a firearm before?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell me a little bit about that occasion?
Like when he is hunting?
Yeah.
boring. We just sit in the blind and wait for something good to walk by. But, you know, he really doesn't, other than just when we go hunting, we don't really use the guns during the year. It's really just during hunting season.
Have you ever seen him do any form of like target practice or go to the range?
Actually, no, I've never seen him do that. No,
Would you say he's comfortable with firearms?
I mean, he was raised with them. I'd say that we all probably have a healthy respect of them.
But he knows how to use them?
Yes,
Does he know how to take care of them?
yes,
And you've seen him shoot them on other occasions? In hunting, for example?
yes.
What do you remember after you got back to the apartment complex while you were in the back of the vehicle?
So at this time, I was sleeping, but I was uncomfortable, so I wasn't sleeping well, so I wake up every so often. I remember them talking outside of the car. If I'm in the car, sorry, I feel like I have to draw a picture, but my head is on the opposite side of the car from where they're talking, so they're down at my feet.
So which side would your head be nearest? Would it be the driver's side or the passenger side?
The passenger side.
But you're in the back seat. is that
I'm in the
correct?
back seat, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so your head is towards the passenger side. You're in the back. What are you doing?
In and out of sleep. I remember at one point, you know, I could hear them kind of mumbling, talking, and I was like, come on, guys, I want to go to bed. Don't forget about me back here. So I kind of tapped my foot on the window to signal, hey, I'm still here. Don't forget about me. But then I dozed off again.
Do you ever even remember hearing a gunshot that night?
No, I do not.
And did you tell the police about that night as well?
Yes, I did not know what had happened until, you know, they were there and I overheard them talking about.
And we can't get into what other people.
Oh, okay, okay.
And did you also not even know who was shot that night?
No, up until this point, I still had thought our friend Chris drove us home. And so when I'm hearing this information, I was so confused. I was like, there's no way that Josh shot Chris or Chris shot Josh. We're all friends. I thought it was crazy.
So if you don't know who was shot at this point, it's fair to say you did not see the shooting.
No, I did not.
Hi, Clinton.
Vince?
Good morning, Ms. Payton.
Good morning.
Ms. Price, I apologize. I'm just gonna be asking you some questions. If you have, if they're not here, let me know and I'll clarify, okay?
Sure.
So you did not hear the gunshot, correct?
No, I did not.
What was the first thing that happened? Were you awakened by somebody?
Yes.
What happened?
I'm sorry, hold on. So it was just crazy. We were having a good night until we weren't. So I can't look at Josh real quick and cry. When I woke up, Josh swung open the door, and it startled me awake. I woke up and, you know, I'm very groggy, but I very vividly remember he was so upset. He just was so scared and just upset and Peyton. He
Objection to your state, Your Honor.
Sorry?
Objection to your state, Your Honor.
Excited utterance, Your Honor.
Predicate is not fully been established, Your Honor.
Just saying,
Was he was he emotional?
Yes, he was emotional.
Did he have any time to recollect, to fabricate any type of emotion with you?
Oh, no.
Was it like an immediate response that you were getting from him with regards to your life being in danger?
Yes, he looked at me, he said, Peyton, you need to go upstairs now, you need to run because he's going to rape you. And at this time, I still thought that it was Chris who was with us, and so I remember looking at him and saying, Chris, Josh, what are you talking about? And he said, you need to go now, just listen to me, you need to go now. And so I did what he said, and I went up the stairs, and he had my keys and my phone and my wallet, and so I wasn't able to go inside. So I just sat crisscrossed up at the top, and I waited for him to come get me.
Once you found out that it was not Chris, but rather, Mr. Rodriguez, that he was alluding to, how did that make you feel?
I was shocked.
Sorry?
Objection relevance, Your Honor. How did it make you feel is not relevant to whether or not he's guilty or not guilty of this crime.
Sustained.
Did it change your opinion about, about him needing to protect you?
Knowing if it was Chris or JC,
If, once you found out it was actually Mr. Rodriguez and not Chris, did it change your opinion as to him needing to protect you?
Objection speculation. She was passed out drunk in the back of the vehicle while this is going on.
Sustained.
Had you ever seen Josh be so, scared?
no,
Had you ever seen him be so upset?
no. Josh is very easygoing, there's not much that rattles him.
Had, you ever seen him be so concerned for your well-being?
No,
What was Josh's voice like whenever he was telling you to get out? Was he calm? Was he
urgent, urgent.
urgent?
I need to listen, I need to go.
Why were you asking Josh, what did you do? Josh, what did you do? Why were you asking him that when you were coming down the stairs?
I don't recall asking him what did he do at that time. I remember when the cops came, they asked me to walk down the stairs with my hands up. I don't remember speaking to Josh directly at that time.
You don't
Sorry.
remember? Sorry. Go ahead.
I said, I'm sorry, I don't remember speaking to him directly at that time. I was just scared and I didn't understand what was happening.
Now, you said that you've seen Josh hunt before?
Yes,
Does he use a rifle or a shotgun?
I'm sorry, I'm not good at terms. I don't know which one is which.
Okay,
And I guess just the regular hunting one, whatever they typically use.
but that's okay. How does he do as far as bringing out anything good that you see, like you said earlier? Is he able to hit targets?
Yes,
How far are those targets away?
I'm sorry, I don't know. Normally when I go with him to hunt, I read a book or something. He knows all the lingo and all that good stuff, I'm not sure.
Let's go back to the beginning. Were you the first person to speak with Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, I spoke to him first.
And throughout the night, how did you feel about Mr. Rodriguez being with you?
I mean, initially I was uncomfortable, but after speaking to him and hearing him say what he had to say and how he was sorry for what happened, accidents happen, I wasn't gonna hold it against him. As the night progressed, he was very helpful. Sometimes I remember thinking that it was strange how helpful he was, wanting to help me to walk across the street, seeing as, you know, my fiance at the time and my best friend were also there. He was very quick to step in to assist.
Were those the only instances where he was being helpful to help you walk across the street?
I don't recall. I just remember that he was very, very helpful and he just wanted to check on me often.
And was he asking as far as any water consumption, was he giving you water to drink or asking people to give you water?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Did he hold your hand at any point? To cross the street?
I think so. I think he, whether it be him holding my hand or walking, just, I'm sorry, where maybe he's holding my arm. I don't remember exactly how he was holding me.
And, you know Josh, as far as his vision since 2016, correct?
Yes, I actually felt terrible when I first met him. I saw him holding his phone really close to his face. And I teased him, I said, why are you holding your phone like that?
May I approach, Your Honor?
May?
For the record, I'm gonna show the witness under my phone. Can you demonstrate for the jury how he was holding his phone?
He has to hold it very close because that's how he sees very close up.
And is that the way, whenever he's on his phone, that's the way you demonstrated having the phone near your nose, maybe, what, 2 or 3 inches?
Yes, I actually see him use the tip of his nose to scroll and push buttons because it's so close to his face.
Okay, and now I'm handing you also a pair of Josh's glasses. Is that the prescription, or have you known him to wear those glasses?
Oh, yeah. Those are Josh's glasses.
And you've taken them and tried to use them to see kind of what's going on with them?
Oh, yes. No, it's something that we do with a lot of our friends. Whenever we first speak about his vision, we have them try on his glasses.
Please. Your Honor, defense offers defense exhibit number 1, Your Honor.
I'd like to take the witness on order.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hanson.
I'd like to take the witness on order. I do not think the proper predicate has been laid at this point.
You can take it on the floor, die.
Do you know approximately what
Ms.
year?
Hanson, your microphone.
Do you know approximately what year the defendant wore these glasses?
So those are actually the glasses that he wore. Josh keeps all of his glasses. I don't know why, it's just something that he does. So those are his glasses, either that year or the following year.
And are you with him whenever he goes to his eye appointment?
Oh, yes, I always go with him.
And back in that time, do you know whether or not there's an accurate prescription for the defendant?
Yes. His vision, although it has changed, it's changed very slightly for the worse over time.
Objection.
There was no objection, Your Honor. Commissioner has it to the jury.
Defense exhibit 1 is admitted. You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. My apologies. Approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Would you prefer it on the thing or on the sleeve?
On the sleeve, I'll put it with the Sharpie.
Ms. Price, I'm handing you what's been marked as defense exhibit number 2. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, I looked at it this morning.
No, we don't have a test. And is that a fair and accurate recording of what transpired or what's being recorded?
Yes,
And you're sure that you actually put your initials on defense exhibit number 2
that's my handwriting
and the date?
today.
And that is a complete, fair, and accurate copy, has not been altered, adulterated, or changed in any way?
No, sir.
Defense officer, tendering defense exhibit number 2 to opposing counsel and bring objections.
Your Honor, I have never been given a copy of this, and so I need an opportunity to review it before I can say if I have an objection or not, Your Honor. And she hasn't even identified what this is.
It's the same. You have to identify it.
Okay, is this a recording of you, Josh, Alexandra, and Mr. Rodriguez at the bar?
Yes,
And it's a very brief recording, in a couple of seconds, not even 5 seconds, correct?
just a couple of seconds, yes.
And it has not been changed, altered, or in any way, shape, or form?
That is the same blue drive that you showed me just a little while ago.
And the recording in that drive has not been
No,
changed in
it
any
is
way?
the exact same video.
Give it my research.
Meg?
Hello.
And then I have an opportunity to review this. I do not represent any objectionable in here. I don't know if there is. You say there's a number of different things that could be on there. I just need a brief opportunity. I can step out of the forum if you don't want to see anything else, but I do need an opportunity to review it before I can make any objections.
Yeah, it's very neat.
Thank you.
Speak of no objection, Your Honor.
Your exhibit number, please?
Exhibit number 2, Your Honor.
Defense exhibit 2 is admitted?
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Castellino, would you please change the computer?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry. Ms. Castellino, I'm sorry. Oh, it's my fault. Defense exhibit number 2, can you identify that person?
Yes, Josh,
And this is we all are at the bar?
yes.
I'll get this right. Sorry. I've stopped the exhibit at 2 seconds. Who's that person there?
That's JC.
And at that point, he's trying to conceal his identity?
He did not want us to take his picture or have him be in any videos.
Did you find that strange?
I mean, I don't know. I don't always love having my picture taken either, but he just was very adamant he did not want to have any photos or videos.
Yeah, Pro Tem. Now, when Josh is writing, how close is he to his implement, to his paper and pen when he's writing?
When he needs to write, he has to get right up on it, just like with his phone.
That's the witness, Your Honor.
State,
No additional questions, Your Honor.
this witness be released.
I would like to keep her under recall, Your Honor.
Very well. Ma'am, you're free to go about your business now, but you will remain under subpoena. So if someone asks you to come back, you need to come back. Also, keep in mind, you are not allowed to talk to anyone about this case. Don't talk to anyone except for if the attorneys have questions for you. Don't talk to anyone inside or outside the courtroom. All right? Thank you very much. State, call your next witness.
State recalls SMPD evidence type Gorzel.
Again, if you just adjust the mic, it's changed since you were here last, so that everyone can hear you. Ma'am, you remain under oath. State.
Ms. Gorzel, what were you able to go and retrieve from SMPD?
I brought back item number 2, a black colored metal buck knife, approximately 6 inches in length, located in a sheath on the back of victim's pants, as well as item number 014, one black metal pin style punch found on the ground where the victim was encountered. It says Osborne brand, believed to belong to the victim.
And to go through some of those similar questions that we did with the other pieces of evidence, were both of those items listed as being collected on May 22nd of 2020?
Yes,
And were those items given evidence numbers on that day when they were checked into evidence?
yes, sir.
And have those numbers stayed with those pieces of evidence until today?
Yes,
Have you been able to review the chain of custody document to make sure that those evidence items are still in the custody of the San Marcos Police Department today?
yes, sir.
And were those the items that you just checked out from SMPD before coming?
Yes, sir. And I also brought another transfer receipt to
I
have you
was
sign as well.
just about to ask about that. Can I come up and sign that?
Yes, sir.
And are those two items in the same or similar condition as when they were checked in based on the changes?
Since I was not here when they were first brought in by Officer Anderson, I cannot,
Sure, since you last reviewed them.
since I last reviewed them, yes.
And you reviewed the chain of custody, that they've been properly kept in the chain of custody until you reviewed them, correct? Your Honor, at this time, state offers states exhibit 80, pre-marked exhibit 84 and 85.
That's any objection?
Could we identify which one is 84 and which one is 85?
The knife is 84 and the pen is 85.
No objection.
States Exhibit 84 and 85 are admitted.
Ms. Gorzel, you will join me back over where we were. Let's do 85 first. While you put on your gloves, can you just tell us what number 14 is?
Item number 14. That description says one black metal pin style punch found on the ground where the victim was encountered. Osborne brand believed to belong to the victim.
And what is item 2?
Item number 2.
I'm sorry, 2.
It's going to be a black colored metal buck knife, approximately 6 inches in length, located in a sheath on back of victim's pants.
Since we just have one item, I'll have you open it up if you can, and then show the jury. My gloves are on this.
Judge, I believe one of the jurors is signaling the back right.
Can we have her tilted down so we can get a good view of it?
If you want, you can.
Yeah.
Let's go to this side. Okay, the box as well, so you can see this one. Ms. Gorzel, do defense attorneys sometimes come and review items of evidence in cases?
Yes, they do.
Do you know if defense counsel in this case ever came and reviewed the evidence in this case?
Yes,
Did they review all of the evidence that we've admitted?
yes.
No further questions?
That's
Your Honor, permission to publish exhibit number 84 to the jury.
May.
No further questions. My apology. You can open it.
Judge, do we want to wait until the jurors have reviewed it fully?
It's his cross,
She said no further questions.
okay? You're direct.
Judge, we have no further questions. We ask that this witness be excused.
Very well. Ma'am, you're free to step down. May she be excused?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
Thank you, ma'am. You're free to go about your business. State, call your next witness.
State Police Detective Campbell. Yes. And you need anything else?
No.
All right, for the jury.
You may be seated. Campbell, could you please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Sir.
Please have a seat. You would adjust yourself close to that microphone. Remember, she's got on headphones, so it's not just the room, but her hearing you better. If you could pull the base closer to you, about a fist apart from your mouth is the ideal. If you would, tell us your name, please, and spell it for the court reporter.
David Campbell, Campbell.
State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you state your name?
David Campbell,
And how are you currently employed?
a detective with the San Marcos Police Department,
What level of police officer license do you hold?
master peace officer license.
Is that the highest level that you can?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me a little bit about your first law enforcement experience?
I've been with San Marcos Police Department since January of 2000. Before that, I spent 2 years with the University Police Department and then some time up in Illinois.
Did you go to an academy?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you go?
San Antonio College.
And can you tell the jury a little bit about what you learned while you're in the academy?
All the basics to be a police officer in the state of Texas.
And how long is that course?
It was 560 hours at the time.
And approximately how long did that take for you to complete?
I was going part-time, so it took me about 8 months.
Can you tell the jury when you started at San Marcos Police Department?
In January of 2000,
And what was your first assignment?
a patrol officer.
Can you tell the jury what that means?
Patrol officer, you're a patrol officer on the street in uniform, anything from traffic stops to doing investigations that you're called for,
I'm
Did you-
sorry. Anything from traffic stops?
to doing investigations.
Thank you.
Did your assignment change while you were at the San Marcos Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you move whenever you moved out of patrol?
In the CID.
And can you tell the jury what CID means?
Criminal investigation division is just a lateral transfer from a patrol position. I did not promote. I was just laterally transferred into a detective position.
And what was the approximate year that you were transferred in as a detective?
August 23rd, 2010.
Does the San Marcos Police Department CID divide their caseload?
They do.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about that?
There are some specialties in CID, but they're basically split up between property and persons crimes. I'm over persons crimes.
Have you always been involved in citizens crimes?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you continue to receive training throughout your years as a police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell the jury a little bit about that?
We got continuing training. There are 40 hours every 2 years, plus any other specialized trainings that you want to get in for and you're acceptable.
Has some of your training included the areas of interviewing suspects?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to talk about May 22nd of 2020. Were you assigned to CID at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working that day?
I had to have been, it was a Friday, so,
And were you dispatched out for a shooting that day?
yes, ma'am.
Were you assigned a case by the name of Joshua King?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you actually the lead detective on this case?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you first do whenever you found out that there had been a shooting?
I was contacted by Sergeant Paul Stevens. There had been a shooting, saying that they were transporting a couple of people over to the San Marcos Police Department. So I called a couple of people, other detectives, to come in and assist with that,
And what was your major role?
as interviewing Mr. King.
Was that on the night of May 22nd of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did that occur?
At the San Marcos Police Department in one of the interview rooms.
Did you advise the defendant of his Miranda warnings?
I did.
And did he agree to talk to you after that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you actually go over a written waiver of rights?
Yes, ma'am.
May I push the witness room?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 72. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this a fair and accurate copy of the Miranda warnings that you administered to the defendant on that night?
Yes, ma'am.
State offers State's Exhibit number 72 and tenders to that.
No objection.
State's Exhibit 72 is admitted.
And on this warning, does the defendant actually have to initial that they have been told each one of those warnings?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he sign at the bottom?
He did.
And did you sign as a witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me approximately what time that occurred at?
3:03 a.m.
And is that on May 22nd of 2020?
It is.
And I did notice at the top that the date lists May 22nd of 2020, but the bottom lists 2021.
Yes, ma'am. I just noticed that. I didn't catch it at the time.
Was that, did you write in the date or did the defendant write in the date?
The defendant,
Which one is correct?
the one on top.
Was anyone else in the room whenever you conducted that interview?
No, ma'am.
Was he in handcuffs at that time?
No, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to review the recorded statement that you obtained from the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 73. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
It's a CD of the interview with Mr. King.
And did you actually initial the outside of that CD indicating that you had reviewed it?
I did.
And is this a fair and accurate copy of that interview that was conducted on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
State offers State's Exhibit number 73 and tenders to that counsel.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 73 is admitted.
May I publish to the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
Your Your Honor, I believe we have a question from one of the jurors for an issue.
We got 3 monitors that are off over here. Can we get them turned on?
Donkey,
Hey, they're all on now. They're waking up.
they're on now?
Should be coming. They're waking up.
Very good.
Hey, they're all on now.
Very good. Let's proceed.
Patience.
Can you tell me what's going on here?
The body cam's on my belt, I pull it out, put it on the table. So anytime there's a shooting, they call us out, just make sure everything's being covered here. I know you probably told the story a couple times here, okay, but like I said, we just wanna make sure we'll cover everything. And you've already also been read your Miranda rights. We're gonna go ahead and get it on the written form also, okay? Can I get your name, please?
Name is Joshua Patrick King.
Yes, I need by chance.
I think they took my wallet.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm sorry, Josh,
Joshua Patrick King.
Will Patrick, spell it for me.
Patrick. Patrick.
And King, K-I-N-G.
Yes, sir.
What's your birth, sir?
8/28/97.
You need water or anything else? Just tired? I'm sure you're upset with the whole situation, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's up and he's talking, he's not with Southern Critical List, so. Looks like he's gonna recover. Okay. Try not to get upset, I know this is a very, very frustrating thing here, okay?
Wouldn't stop, sir.
Alright, let's just take it slow, okay? Nobody's accusing you of doing anything wrong, we're just here to get your story, okay? So what's the address over there, Plaza?
1011 Waterville Drive.
1011,
Yes, sir.
your apartment number?
220. 78666.
Yes, sir, I got that word. What's your social?
Honestly, sir, I don't remember. I know I probably should.
Okay, no problem.
It's, I know they searched the apartment. I gave you full.
Well, no, we appreciate that,
Might leave it is if you need it.
I was going off of information on the way in here, of course, I just woke up to, well, processing everything, but I've got a guy out there that he says that there's no indication of anything, you know, even went in the apartment.
Oh, if they need for social, I can tell you right where it is.
Okay, man, it's okay. What's the number for you?
20219-8335.
Yeah, email address or anything?
Yeah, my non-Texas state one is, it's JPKING97 @yahoo.com.
Okay.
So he's okay then, right?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, this young lady next door is your girlfriend?
Young lady next door, what do you mean, sir?
Okay, there's a female with you.
If there's a female with me, it's not my girlfriend, that's.
Okay, I don't know all the answers yet, that's why I gotta ask you
No,
questions, okay? So she's just a friend of yours?
No, sir. She's my partner, she's my fiance. But it's the light of my life, sir.
Okay, listen up, relax. Take some deep breaths, okay? girlfriend, fiance, it's all the same. She's with you, okay? So don't overthink it, okay?
I'm not trying to cause you any.
I understand, sir. I'm just trying to get you to relax. Don't overthink stuff, okay? What's her name?
This payment was price.
You know, her by chance?
Yes, December 2nd, 1997.
You by chance know your driver's license number?
I don't have the driver's license sort of legally born, and I just have an ID.
Okay, you know that? Okay, is it, Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna read this to you, then we'll let you read it, okay? Like I said, I know they already read this to you, but I just wanna make sure I'm covering all my bases here, okay? So before you're asking questions, it's my duty to advise you of your rights and to warn you the consequences of waiving your rights, okay? You have the right to remain silent and not say anything. Any statement you make may be used against you at your trial. Any oral or written statements you make may be used as evidence against you in court. You have the right to have your lawyer present to advise you before and during any questioning by police officers or attorneys representing the state. If you are too poor to hire a lawyer, then the court will appoint a lawyer for you free of charge. He can advise you before and during any question. You can stop talking with anyone, and you can stop talking to them at any time you want. The above rights are continuing rights, which can be urged by you in any stage of this proceedings, okay? So like I said, I know they've been read to you, I just read them to you. You can go through and read them again if you agree or understand your rights, just initial here. And if you're willing to talk to me, that's what this bottom paragraph is here. It's just saying you're willing to waive your right to speak to me about this incident, okay?
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
You said I'm willing to waive my rights and speak to you about this incident.
Yes, sir.
What exactly do you mean?
It's just to get your side of the story. Like I said, I know you told the patrol officers, and I'm here just to make sure we're covering all our bases. Nobody's saying you're in trouble. Sure, no, we're just here to get your side of the story, that's it. I'm not coming in at you, you know, hard or, you know, like gangbusters or anything, okay? I've already got their initial side, but I wanna make sure we're covering everything.
Are you asking for my side of the story, or are you asking for me to say I did something wrong, because I won't tell you that.
I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I don't know everything that happened yet.
I'm just getting a real mixed feelings.
Sure.
I had somebody come in here and tell me the whole condition that was okay. And I had somebody come in here and tell me, stay quiet, don't say anything, somebody will be here in a while.
And that's why they're calling us.
I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Okay.
I really don't. I can tell you what happened. And this just means that I can tell you unfucking biased, have anybody else think what happened, then I'll do it.
Okay, you're overthinking this.
No, I know I'm overthinking it, and that's fine, but
I'm just here to get your side of the story, but we need to make sure we're covering all the bases. We wanna make sure you understand that you have rights. That's it.
I know I have rights. Is that what this is saying?
You what now?
I know I have rights. Is that what this is saying?
That's exactly what that's saying.
You got it. Signature. Just full name, and doesn't matter if you wanted any certain way.
However you sign your name, sir.
Today is the 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Give it a time, Shannon.
3:03.
That was 3 PM, right?
This is a.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Witness,
I'll be the witness, right here, if you understand each of the address, initial, make one of these.
and just every single one.
Yes, sir. I just show them, I read them to you, and you can also read them if you want, and make sure you just understand your rights.
Sorry, man, it just takes me a second.
I understand, well, no worries.
Not to read them, I mean, it just takes me a second to get what you're pointing at.
Yes, sir. All right.
You were asked for double that?
Yes, sir. So I'm gonna let you go through your story, take your time. Like I said, this is just your side of the story.
Sorry if I take me a minute.
I understand that, we're not worried, man. Like I said, I'm saying you did anything wrong. We just gotta figure out what's going on.
I'm not worried about being mad, making doing something wrong.
I know reason to be mad at you, this is not about being mad.
I just trying. I'm not worried about being in trouble. I'm worried about hurting somebody. I didn't want to hurt anybody.
Like I said, I know this is a very traumatic thing to go through.
So,
So I'm gonna let you go through your story, you know, how you want to.
I'll tell you the same thing that the last person.
Listen to me, Josh. I'm trying to explain things to you.
Okay, great.
I'll let you tell your story, you tell it your own time, your own words, and then I'm probably gonna have some questions and get some clarifications on stuff later, okay?
Yes, sir.
So, that's where we're at. You sure you don't need water or anything?
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Completely.
Alright.
If I seem to be not exactly polite or anything, I'm sorry. It's just,
You're okay. I understand you've been drinking a little bit too.
it's not the problem, sure. It's just,
Well, alcohol tends to bring the emotions out with the traumatic thing, that's all I'm saying, okay?
no, you're not wrong. But, longer is the better than that, sir.
Understand? Where you from, man?
San Antonio.
Okay. Border race?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Grew up on the north side, so, and, went to Oregon High School, it's a good time. I enjoyed it, had a good education. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. So my fiance, who's paid in Christ, her big, as they call it in the sorority, her name is Alexander Loft. And she's been trying to get with us to hang out for a while. And no, I don't care. If Peyton wants to go out and run around the square, it's fine with me as long as I'm with her and things. So they want to go out. I was okay with that. Now, we had gone out relatively early, around like 5:30, and I'm not sure the time. I'm sorry, I've been up for a while.
Yes, sir.
But they'd been around 5:30 or 6, somewhere in there, and we had a couple of drinks. You know, nothing that was too much for me to handle, and we're all just talking, having a good time. The three of us, me, Peyton, Alexander,
Yeah.
and I think this is where the changed. I told them at some point, you know, hey, if y'all wanna keep hanging out tonight, that's fine, but I need to go to work and get my job done.
Mm-hmm.
And I work at Bobcat Cookie Excellent. And before I go into any more detail, I guess I'll just tell you, at some point, I walked along myself from Sean Patrick's to Bobcat Cookie.
Okay.
And it was probably a 45-minute detour from where we were doing that night. And there was nothing normal. There's nothing out of the normal.
Right.
kind of normal work night, put everything up on the shelves. Everything was okay, my coworkers were great, we had a good time. Just talking to each other, and I did my job. When I met them, I walked down University Drive and I turned as though I was walking to Craft House from that big intersection where the Chipotle and the Subway are. I walked down that intersection to meet Peyton, and she called me just as I was waiting across the street from her, and I said, "Hey, come over here." And it was all good. I walked right over and I met them, and they said, "Well, we already took 8 of our friends that are here at Craft House, and they say it's gonna be an hour wait to get in, so if you want, we can just go back to Sean Patrick's." And I said, "Hey, that's totally cool with me, the drinks there are cheap, you know, we have each other, it's not a big deal to me." And from where we were waiting in line to Sean Patrick's, you know, it's not a long walk, it's 3 or 4 minutes, and you know, just straight down the square. And before today, I had never been to Sean Patrick's, and I really liked it because the drinks were cheap, the waitresses were nice, the people that were in there seemed really friendly. And it just seemed like a nice place to be. And Peyton was having such a good time, and Peyton never really went through any party phase or anything, so I wanted it to be fun for her, so I didn't really say much. Now, Alexandra is kind of like me, but very lively people. We like to talk to other people and make friends, you know. My parents have always told me to watch out for that. I was just all of a sudden, it was good. And so, you know, it didn't come as any surprise to me that we were meeting new people and everything was okay. And we had seen some people that were friends of Alexandra's that I hadn't seen in a few years. I believe his name is Armando, we called him Armando. A really nice guy. He was there with a girl and another guy and another girl, just a little group. Right. And honestly, we just kind of happened to see them by chance. But when we walked, when I had gotten off of work and we had walked from waiting in line at Craft House to Sean Patrick's, there was this guy behind us, and he's kind of a short guy. But he looked really friendly. He seemed really nice. You know, he wasn't like a bulky guy. He was probably like 5'2" or something. I don't know, man. It's just a little bit. He was really friendly. He and I were talking, and Alexandra had invited him to come sit with us inside the restaurant when we got in. And so that's exactly what happened. Came and sat with us. We all went, when Sean Patrick's was, I went and got some beer. We all went to the roof of the Vistas. We were all talking and having some beers, just relaxing together. You know, there was nothing illegal, nothing bad. We were just having a good night together, you know? And this guy was nothing but nice and understanding, and he was talking about Christ and Jesus, and he and I were having these discussions about Christianity, and
You didn't know they were that.
no, not at all. But I don't know if this is to anything, I don't know if it's gonna help hurt me or not, but I'm a Christian, and it was just nice to hear somebody say things that, well, I haven't heard anybody with the same opinions, and it was like, this guy was saying things that I agreed with. And my fiance didn't quite feel that way, and my friends didn't quite feel that way, so to just have somebody that kind of agreed with me, it was like, hey, this is awesome. I who feels the same way I do. And it was all good, and he was so nice. He was so friendly. And he was like, hey, if you need to ride home, if your fiance's too drunk, I haven't been drinking that much, and God's honest truth, he was very sober, and he seemed very friendly, and it seemed very safe, and he was so nice. I told him, I said, my fiance's too drunk, I don't like it, and he said, hey, you have to let go of that, you have to be her friend, you have to understand that she has to have her own fun, I'll help you guys get home. And I'm just like, man, this guy who tells us he's 33, he looks like he's our age, and it doesn't bother me. I don't see so well anyway. It's okay with me to hang out with people that don't look like they're my age. And I'm like, man, it's really nice to meet somebody who's a little older who I feel like is cool to be around, who has the same beliefs as me. And he's helping me out with my fiance who's had too much to drink, and it's all a good time. And we drive home and he's playing the music and it's all a good time. We're laughing. And he's driving pretty safe and he's sober. When we get home into the parking lot, and I just remember he started acting weird. And I was like, look, man, you're more than welcome to stay on the couch tonight. We got in the car. I didn't want to go with him at first. But Alexander said, he's a nice guy. And I said, look, you're a nice guy. I trust you. But I want you to know I'm ready to defend myself if you're not going to be okay with us. And he said, no, it's okay. We're all good. I told him beforehand that if you're not a good person, I will defend myself. And he said, no, buddy, we're friends. He told me that we were all good. Those were his words, all good. If everything was going to be okay. And you know what? That night he had been so nice to me. He had been so friendly, and I thought it was okay. And we got here, and I was like, hey man, you're not doing what you said you would. Not being okay, and I need you to back up. Because you're saying some weird stuff, and you're getting close to my fiance, and you're not being very nice and friendly. And he just kept saying something weird about God. I was like, that doesn't matter. You're not being what you said to me. You're not accepting my space. And he just wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen. He kept coming closer. And I really hope he's okay because I don't want to hurt anybody. I really don't want to hurt anybody. But he just wouldn't stop. And I gave him every opportunity. I said, you need to stop. If you don't stop, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to call the police. And then I just remember that I defended myself because he wouldn't stop. And then I remember him laughing at me and saying, I'm calling the police and you're going to get in trouble. Or it was something like that. It was like he smirked at me. Even though I'm here shitting my pants because I'm afraid. It's like, damn, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that I was afraid. He just wanted to win or something. And meanwhile, I'm over here telling my fiance, hey, sober up. I don't like what's going on.
One second. So, do you have your house keys?
I think they took them from me, sir.
Do you know who took them?
And it's just any of those police officers over there, so I'm sorry.
Trying to secure the apartment, because I don't want to get unlocked, so. Right.
My fiance, did she give you the keys?
Well, no, that's why I'm asking you.
I'm sorry, sir.
I'm sorry.
I would if I could.
Sorry.
Sir, if you don't mind me taking the bus. You're not. How did they not get my keys? They were in my pocket.
Well, there are a lot of people on scene, so somebody probably has your keys. We just gotta find our own.
I don't know about how much. You probably don't have much people in the street, and I don't blame you.
I'll also do for you, man. I'm just trying to get your side of the story, man.
You're trying to be objective into your job, but I don't blame you, but he was very friendly and we were cool. And I told him, I said, I had a gun in this car. If you were not going to be cordial and friendly, you will have a problem. And he said, no, it's okay. We're good. We've been friends all night. And we get to the house, we get to the parking lot, under the carport, and he starts acting different, and I told him to stop. I told him to leave me alone, I told him to just walk away, I even said, hey, look, this might not be what you thought was gonna happen, but I'll still buy you an Uber to your house. I said, I will pay for you to get where you need to be. And he wouldn't accept it, and he kept coming closer, and he laughed at me. And he laughed as he came closer and made me feel unsafe. And so I defended myself, and I was just, I didn't want him to get hurt. I don't want anybody to be hurt. But I defended myself. And not just myself, I defended my fiance, because I was never, ever gonna let anybody hurt her. And that's what he had in mind, and it's just not okay. And you know what, it doesn't matter what color he is, how tall he is, what he looks like. Cause you know what, goddamn it, I can't see his face unless I can't even see your face, sir. Honestly, all I see is a nose and some facial hair.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. And I don't care who he is, I don't care how he is, I don't care what he looks like. But I gave him every warning to stop, and he wouldn't. And I did what I had to do to defend myself.
And what did you do?
As he came closer, I said, if you do not stop coming closer to me, I'm going to pull the trigger. I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to do it. And he just laughed, and he walked closer, and so I did it. I pulled the trigger as he got closer, and you know what? It wasn't a nice, slow walking closer. I said, you need to stop, you need to get away, I don't like how you're acting towards me. You're making me feel threatened, stay away. And he just quickly, boom, came right at me. And so, pow, that's it. I didn't know what else to do. I felt like I was cornered. I felt like my drunk fiance was not in the state to defend herself. I didn't know what to do. And I felt like that was the only choice I had. I couldn't call the cops because, well, what am I supposed to do if somebody's coming at me? I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to hurt anybody. I felt it was the only choice I had, and I'm sorry. I hope he's okay, and I don't want anybody to be hurt. But at the end of the day, I thought it was the only thing I could do to defend myself. But you know, if not choosing me back to roll over and something horrible happens to my fiance, and she has to live the rest of her life knowing that something bad happened to her and she can't live with it, what does that make me? Somebody that allows that to happen to somebody who doesn't deserve it? It all came so fast, and I just couldn't let that happen. Not to me, anybody I love, I'm sorry, I don't want anybody to be hurt, and that's what the first thing I asked you is, not, is he okay? And are you being honest with me? Is he okay? Is he really okay?
I have no reason why I did.
And I really want to believe it. I don't want to be okay. I don't want anybody to be hurt.
Sure. How long you on date?
How long have I been dating? I met her the week before my freshman year, but no, if you want 4 years. 4 years. I could give you the exact number if you want, but 4 years.
Okay. How long y'all been engaged?
We got engaged December 2nd, it was her birthday, about 2 years ago. About a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay. So what time did you all go out tonight? So.
Peyton and I met Alexander at about 5:30.
Okay.
I mean, that's when we planned to meet, but the place where we wanted to go was closed, so we met a little later, maybe around 6. Because we wanted to go to Chinese around 5:30, but they were closed.
Right.
So we kind of all met in the parking lot.
Okay.
And went a little later, because they figured out kind of where we can go.
Okay. So y'all hang out for a while, and then what time did you go over to Buckhead quickly to?
Me personally?
Yes, sir.
I wish I had something I could tell you because I had sent
Just generally.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been around 8,
Okay.
somewhere in that.
And how long you spent over there?
God, not long. What's today? Today is Thursday night. Yeah, the shipments we had this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. I had done most of the back stocking, so today it was just stocking customer shelves.
Okay.
I told Peyton, and she's been coming to the school with me lately because, well, she's a teacher, she has a teaching degree, and there's not really much for teachers to do right now because of the whole coronavirus, so she's been working with me, and I said, baby, you hang out here with Alexander, you have a good time, you've been working really hard, you've been helping me out, even though you don't need to, I'll go to the cooler by myself. So around 8 or so, I went to Exxon by myself, and I spent about 30 minutes in there. My time cards are there, if you need to see the time, they would know better than I would.
Okay.
My,
So what time do you go back over to the craft house and try and meet up with that?
I clocked out, and then I spent about 5 minutes talking to my coworkers.
Right.
Brigito and, his name is Sean. And, I walked straight down University Drive towards the subway.
About what time was that?
I guess about 8:30,
8:30? Okay.
somewhere in there,
Well, like you said, you went to about that quickie at 8.
around 8, right? And I spent about 30 minutes working.
Okay,
So
so 30 minutes, or 8:30, okay.
Somewhere in there.
They just went over there to help out real quick, just
to do
so
my
you
job.
didn't have to work a full shift or anything.
Well, okay, so here's the thing about my job. My boss is happy as long as I get the customer shelves stocked.
Right.
Customer shelves are those shelves you see when you open my door, right? So as long as I make sure that those are full, my boss is happy.
Okay.
So I did my best to make sure those were full. And I'm really not sure of the time, you have to check my time card, but
I understand.
that is as accurate as I can give you. And I think it was around 8 to 8:30.
Okay.
When I was there in time.
So you went to the craft house, there was a long line, it's gonna be about an hour wait.
And they were waiting there for me.
Right.
And Peyton had said hello to her friend, our friend, Charlene.
Okay.
And we had lived with Charlene like a year and a half earlier.
Okay.
And the only reason they went to Craft House was because we wanted to see Charlene, and we kind of ditched Charlene today to go hang out with Alexandra, even though it was Charlene's birthday.
Right.
And so Peyton, when I got to Craft House at 8:30, I guess, I don't know, she said, don't worry, Alexander and I already said hi to Charlene, it's all good. We're gonna go back to Craft House. Or not Craft House, but the other bar, St. Patrick's, right?
Sean Patrick's.
Yeah, Sean Patrick's, thank you. And we went back over there, and there was this short guy, kind of built, but short. Had a very friendly face to him, like I was telling you.
You got his name?
He said his name, we called him JC, and he said it was Juan Carlos. Peyton guessed it, and he was very impressed that she guessed it.
Okay.
And she was very drunk and guessing, and he told us that he was 33, and it was cool to meet somebody who was older that was still hanging out with us and treating us like we were, like, normal people.
And I think when y'all went down, first went down the square, y'all drove your own vehicle.
Yes, sir, Peyton's vehicle is,
Peyton's vehicle, what kind of vehicle is it?
it is a 2008 Ford Escape. GKN 2310. I remember the plate.
I'm sorry, one more time.
GKN 2310, shiny plate, yes.
So you hang out with this guy, you go down to St. Patrick's, you're getting along, you're talking, no problems at all.
Very nice.
Right.
And like, I don't know, this means two fucks to you, whatever, but, I've always been told that people thought I was an old soul. I got things earlier than most people did. And he tells us he's 33, and he's talking about life, and we're talking about life together.
Right.
And we start going into like Christianity, and he seems to have the same beliefs I do, Christianity is great, I mean, you go through something and you learn about life, and it's all about life lessons and how you go through them. And we're talking about this stuff, and it's great, and, we're all getting along.
So this guy just seems to be hanging around the square, or is he friends with Alexandria, or?
I don't know, he's just a random guy that Alexander was nice to.
Okay.
It's like as soon as she was nice to him, and it's funny because she was really nice to him, we were all waiting in line to get into the bar because they were at capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went somewhere to use the restroom, and he was by himself behind me and this random dude that I was talking to. Peyton was already in the bar waiting for me, so I would come a little later. I think she had just kind of walked in earlier, like she got there a couple minutes before me, And some people came in front of me, so I couldn't go in, I guess. I don't remember. Fact of the matter, she was already in there.
So after St. Patrick's, y'all go back to Craft House to eat,
No.
or you drink, whatever you want to do?
What we did was, we knew the bars were opening at 12. So we went to Exxon, I ran in, grabbed a case of beer, I was angry, got some beer for her. And we went, and we ended up at the top of the vistas.
Okay.
That apartment right there, I used to live there, so I knew how to go up there. We weren't breaking any laws, we were just sitting on top of the roof. Security guard didn't mind, I asked her. And everything was great, and then we left peacefully, all was fine, because it was about 12 o'clock. So we left the business, no worries. I told Peyton, I said, look, we can go to one bar and we need to go home, I need to make sure you're sober enough to drive first. As long as everything's okay. And she said, you know, Josh, I haven't drank in a while, I'm okay, I just wanna go home
So
too.
when you go to business, JC's with you.
No, this is when we came from the business to the bar. JC said, hey, I know she's been drinking, I've only had a couple beers, I'll take you guys home. Alexander goes, great idea, and I go, you know what, she's right. He hasn't been drinking much, he's been a phenomenal guy all evening. He's been very nice. I should not trust him.
Yeah. So I just wanna make sure.
So at this point in the interview, up to where they have gotten into the vehicle, the only descriptive words are positive things about the victim, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of words do you recall from that video?
It's phenomenal, he's easy to talk to, they believe in some of the same stuff, so having good conversations.
So they had no problems up until that point, according to the defendant's statement here.
Correct. About the route, right? So when you first go to the square, you're at the business drinking.
No. First go to the square where Sean Patrick's.
Okay.
Then I singularly depart to work.
Right.
I meet them in front of Craft House.
Then you go back to Sean Patrick's.
Can we go back? No. Well, yes, okay, so then we go back to Sean Patrick's and we drink for a little while.
Okay.
Then it's about 10 and the bars don't open up till 12, so we go chill with the vistas for an hour.
But JC's not with you for this.
No, he is. And it was fine. He was completely peaceful. Everything was great. He was so nice. We were nice to each other. We talked about.
So you're on the roof of the business. Why the business? Does somebody live there or?
No, it's just a nice place to go hang out.
Okay, and you said the security guard was good with this, y'all.
I told her, I said, hey, I used to live here. We're just kind of gonna hang out on the roof. Is that okay with you? She said, yeah, we close at 11, but if y'all leave by 11:30, it's okay. So she comes back up around 11:35. She goes, all right, I need to go. We said, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for being okay.
Okay.
We walk to the Green Parrot. We go to the Green Parrot all together.
Gotcha.
Everything's okay. At the end of the night, I'm like, Peyton, you're a little drunk. I think we should leave your car. You know, just Uber.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy goes, oh, I'll drive you home. Alexander goes, well, yeah, you can drive me home. You can just Uber home. And I said, is that okay with you, JC? Juan Carlos. And he says, that's fine with me.
Okay. So where's everybody sitting in the truck? So JC's driving. Who's in the
I'm in the
front?
passenger seat.
Okay, and then Peyton's in the back.
But yes, and Peyton is in the back. And before we left, I said, hey, I'm trusting you. I look down right here, and I open the thing, I said, I look down right here. I think you're a good guy. I think we should be friends. I trust you.
What kind of guy?
It is a SIG P230. I said, I think you're a good guy. I want to be friends. We're all good, buddy. I said, I trust you. And he said, yeah, I know, we're cool, bro. And that's Peyton. That is what he said. We're cool, bro. We're all good. And I said, great. And I put it back up.
Okay.
And we're driving.
And I know this is Texas, everybody has a gun. Okay,
Yes.
you by chance got a license here?
No, sir.
Okay,
But on the other hand, keep one of Peyton's cars to the people.
I understand that.
Right. So it is acceptable that she keeps one in there. And, you know, I don't want to use a gun.
Right.
And I told him, I said, look, and I always said this because I had just spent it the night, and I guess I am pretty stupid for letting things go down the way they did, but I said, hey, look, I want you to know that if you're not the person you say you are, things aren't going to go well. Which any citizen has a right to do, correct, sir? Am I right in that?
You want fair warning.
Exactly. I gave him fair warning. And he was so nice, just.
I want to stop it here for a second. You mentioned in this interview that he gave him fair warning. Why are you saying things like that during this interview?
Just answering his question and.
Are you giving a legal conclusion on whether or
Leading,
not?
Your Honor.
Sustained.
Were you saying anything about whether or not you thought it was right or wrong?
No, ma'am.
Were you saying anything about whether or not it was legally correct or not?
No, ma'am.
See, then I'm like, he fooled the shit out of me. And it, God, why would he sit bum me up then? I had to hurt somebody else, I thought I had a friend. I thought he was nice to me. And he was, and it was awesome, and he drove safe, and Peyton was laughing, and we were listening to music, and I directed him to the house. And I said, hey, are you ready for me to order you the thing home? And he was like, no. And he kept saying no. And I was like, well, look, man, we could be friends. Do you want to be friends? I kept asking him, do you want to be friends? Let's be friends. And he just kept acting weird. Like he thought I was trying to ask him to join some religious cult or something. But I was like, hey, let's just be cool. Let's be friends.
So what was he saying that it was starting to be weird?
I kept saying, look, man, are you ready to go home? Ready for me to get you your Uber?
Is this inside the truck or are you standing up?
No, we just got out of the car.
Okay.
And I was like, you ready to go home? And he was like, no. And I was like, well, look, man, you took us home. We really appreciate it. If you want to stay the night, you're more than welcome. But you're gonna have to sleep in the living room and lock our door because, you know, we're new.
Did they just offer to allow the victim to spend the night? Did you hear this statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the defendant just offer to, or did the defendant say that he offered the victim to even spend the night that night?
Yes, ma'am.
So they were getting along well enough for him to make that kind of offer up into that point.
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Interesting.
And he just looked at me funny. And I said, look, buddy, if you don't want to stay the night, that's okay. I'll bring you home. He didn't say anything. And I said, listen, I need to get you home and I need to go up to my house.
Peyton is outside the vehicle also.
Peyton's standing up towards, the stairs. She's not really doing anything.
Okay.
And I said, look, man, you need to go home.
Where did the defendant just indicate that Peyton was right before the shooting?
Outside the car by the stairs.
Or you were right home. And he was like looking at me, and I was like, I got really for him. I said, what do you believe, dude? What are you doing here? Why are you acting like this? What's the problem? And he said something, I don't remember, honestly. He just was, it was nonsensical, and he wouldn't listen to me. And I said, look, you need to go now. You were getting too close, and at this point, he was coming like closer to me. Because he started at the back of the car, and I was at the front, like by Peyton's mirror.
Okay.
And he was towards the end, but in the middle of the neighbor's parking space, because that neighbor was never there. And I said, you need to stop. You need to go home. I will order you an Uber. You need to get away. You were creeping me out. You were not being polite. You need to go. He said, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. He already tempting me. And I said, I don't want to do anything. I want you to stop coming up to me. I want you to get away from me. I want you to go away. And he kept pushing me. I said, you need to stop. I feel threatened. This is not okay. And I feel like he said something about, doesn't matter what you do, I'm right, or something like that. I don't know what the terminology was, but it was something weird along those lines. And I don't know if it was as clear as that, but he said something weird like, you're wrong, I'm right. It was just something like that. And I said, no, I feel threatened. I don't like this. Stop. And he kept coming closer and coming closer and coming closer.
Now, let me get some clarification here. So now when all this is going on, you're out of the vehicle, the door shut on the vehicle?
The front door is open. And I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to get my gun.
So are you in?
No, sir, I'm outside the vehicle.
Outside the vehicle, but you're in the open doorway of the vehicle?
No, sir.
Or you're more towards the front?
I'm more towards the front. The front door is open.
The driver's side door, passenger side door?
No, driver's side door.
Okay.
And I'm outside of that, and I'm saying, listen to me, you were being very threatening. I said,
Have you got the keys back at this time of the vehicle?
I think the keys are still in the vehicle.
Okay.
You look
Car
like,
running?
no, sir.
Okay.
I said, you were not being very you're creeping me out.
Okay.
I'm gonna defend myself. Didn't listen to me, he kept coming.
So Peyton is still back towards like the stairs of where you park.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. How far away is that from the vehicle?
I don't know the exact measurement, but it's a ways away. 15, 20 feet, I don't know.
Okay.
Sir, all I know is that he kept coming and I told him to stop. And I said, you are making me feel uncomfortable. And he was not listening to me.
Okay.
And I said, you need to stop, or I'm going to do what I need to do to defend myself.
So how far away from you is he at this point?
8 feet?
Okay.
I don't know, sir. I'm sorry, I don't.
I'm just looking for generalities. I know you don't have to measure stick out there.
No, it would be easier, but I don't have a good depth perception, sir.
Okay.
I don't see very well.
So he keeps coming toward you.
Yes, all I know is that he keeps coming towards me, and I
So
don't be.
at what point do you reach in and grab the gun?
I say, if you keep coming towards me, because at this point, our conversation had turned weird enough for me to know that I need to start looking out. I say, you need to stop or I'm gonna defend myself. And at that point, he kept coming closer, and I said, you need to get out of here. And he was like, no. So I reached in and I said, you need to stop coming closer. And he kept coming and kept coming and said, I defended myself.
Okay, we need a little bit more detail. So at what point did you reach in and grab the gun?
It was after I said, you need to stop. Stop coming closer to me. You need to stay away.
Okay. So did you just reach in there and grab the gun from the center console?
Yes, sir. He kept coming closer and I said, you need to stop or I'm gonna do what I have to do.
So at what point did you grab the gun and how did you grab it?
So I reached into the console and I grabbed the gun and I pointed at him and I said, you need to stay away.
So how far is he from you at this point?
At this point, he's about, I gotta guess, if I am at the passenger or the driver's seat door, he's right at the back of the car. And it's not that he had come any closer this way, it's that he had gone from this corner over here to this way. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get help.
Right.
And he just kept coming closer than that. Oh, he had moved from here to here. And that's when I said, you need to stop.
Okay.
You need to stay away. Moved a little bit closer this way. And then I said, I'm grabbing the gun. Grabbed the gun. I looked at him. I said, you need to stop. As soon as he came a little closer, that's when I did what I had to do.
Okay. So how many shots did you fire?
I believe it was 2.
2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did both of them hit him?
I think so. I don't know. I think it was 2.
Okay.
Well, we can talk about that.
Well, I've got to talk about that. That's the most important part.
I know, I didn't want to hurt you, please, sir. I just wanted to be. Okay.
So you reached in, you grabbed the gun, you're still in the open doorway of the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
He's still coming toward you.
Yes,
You
sir.
warned him, and you think you fired 2 shots.
If it was 2. Yes, sir.
Okay.
If my memory serves me correct, I believe it was
And
2.
Peyton is still up by the stairs, somewhere up there, 20 feet away.
Yes, sir. 15, 20 feet away in between the car and the staircase.
And I'm still trying to understand, I know you already said you really don't remember, but I'm trying to prompt your memory here, okay? So what exactly was he saying that turned the whole, he's being
It
threatened?
was more of like, I asked him, are you ready to go? And he was saying no.
Okay,
Like, he expected me to give him something.
okay, did he say anything about Peyton?
No, but the whole
Or
night.
doing
he had-
anything to Peyton?
Not in that instance, but the whole night, he had been pretty close to her,
Alright,
hanging off of her. And not that that bothered me, because I trust her, and he was very nice. I honestly thought it was really nice that maybe Peyton was making a new friend, and I was making a new friend. But then, at the end of it all, and I said, hey, are you ready to go home? He goes, no, I'm gonna stay with you. And I said, well, you have a couch. And he said something like, no, that's not good enough.
okay,
Or it was something weird like that wasn't gonna be enough for him.
alright,
And I said, well, you need to go, this isn't your home. And he kept coming closer and saying, it's like I can stay where I want, or, what was it? It was something weird like that.
okay.
I just need to stay where I'm,
So once you-
I'm old, I can do what I want.
Once you fired 2 shots, what happened to that?
He backed up and like he was on the phone ready to call you guys.
Okay,
And I said, I'm sorry, I didn't want to do that, you just wouldn't leave.
so he's still standing
Yes.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. And then I told Peyton, I said, you need to get up and go to the apartment, call the police. And then I don't know, that's when it's a blur, is what happened after that. But I remember him talking to y'all. I told Peyton to go get out of there because I didn't want her in harm's way. And then I called y'all too, I think. And then they got there and they said, get on the ground. And I did everything I was told. I did not, I cooperated.
So once he called, you think you might have called? What was going on at that point?
I told Peyton to call, I think, I don't know if she did or not, because she's been drinking. I just know that I did what I thought I had to do, and immediately I was glad because it seemed like he backed off. That's just,
Well, at that point, I mean, you said he's calling the police.
I thought he was.
Is he yelling at you? Is he saying anything else to you?
I think he said like, oh, now I got you, or something, like, I proved you were.
Hold on a second. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not a problem. All right, sir.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember
Did
that.
he keep advancing on you at all after he
No,
shut up?
after that, he knew I didn't want it anymore. And you know what? I remember. He did, I think I told you this a minute ago, I'm gonna tell you again. At that point, I remember him saying something like, oh, I got you now, you're gonna be in trouble.
After he shot?
Yes,
Okay.
I started defending myself. It's like he wanted me to do it.
So when you were shot, I think you were nose in the parking space, right?
The car was nose in,
Okay.
I was facing the back of the car
Right.
and him.
And about how far do you think he was away when you shot him?
Like I said, I think he was about 8 feet away.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
Understand?
got that distance, and he kept coming, and I told him to stop, and he didn't, so I did what I had to do.
So after he called the police, how long do you think it was till the police got there?
I don't know. At that point, I felt like, honestly, I felt like my heart was beating out of my chest, and I was just so worried that
So were you staying there keeping him covered? Did you put the gun up? Then what was going on when he
I
was
set the
calling
gun
police?
in the car. If I remember correctly, I set the gun in the car.
Where'd you set it at? On the seat back in the center
See,
console?
the console, one of the two.
Okay.
And I remember telling Peggy to go upstairs, and I think he was still standing.
Okay.
I went and looked at him, and I felt like he was still up. Nothing was wrong.
Okay.
And I was like, well, at least he's not going after me and Peyton anymore. And I waited, and the
Did you
police,
try to help him, or were you just waiting for the police to get there?
I just waited. I
Okay.
didn't know what to do. And when they got there, they just put me in the ground. And didn't seem to give me.
Well, they don't know what's going on, so they can put everybody on the ground.
They're fearful. They're fearful for their lives and their jobs, and I get that. I just
Well, it's not fearful, it's just being safe.
practical. Put it that way.
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Okay.
I felt bad, and
You mentioned your eyesight a couple times, so you're saying right now you can only see like my nose and facial hair.
let me put it to you this way. Next time you walk in a room, I'll know it's you.
Okay.
But for you, it didn't seem that way. Takes me a while to find faces.
I'm saying.
And man, it sucks.
Well, I'm trying to get a gauge of how good is your eyesight, okay? So, I mean, do you see distinct features or no?
No,
Okay.
I want to tell you, see right now.
Yes, sir.
See your eyes, they seem a little bit small for your face, but fitting. You seem to have a bit of a beard going on, and it's not the fact that I can tell you have hair, it's just that your chin seems larger than the rest of your face, meaning that you have hair.
Right, okay. Now, I find this interesting because, you know, I colorblind people. I've had discussions with them on how they determine, so yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I hope you don't take offense, I don't mean any.
No, that's
It's how I work.
Absolutely. I know I'm a big guy, so, you know, you see the outline of me?
Of course I do.
Okay.
It's not like anything crazy, but like I can never, this guy though, is different. When I first saw him, I thought he was like a younger man. He looked really, really young.
Right.
But he said he was 33. When I first saw him, I said, no way this guy's 33. And not like you, me, was not shaped like us.
Right.
He was shaped like a 13-year-old kid.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, how old are you?
How did he just describe the victim's physique?
Being small,
And did he mention an age that he looked like?
looked like a 13-year-old kid.
22, I'll be 23 in August.
Okay. And how much experience have you had with firearms?
I've hunted all my life.
Okay.
Don't have any sort of official certification or anything, but
I kind of figured being a Texas boy, most Texas boys have, experience, so.
I like to consider myself very safe with them.
Okay.
I do not like to touch them unless I need to.
And was this your gun or Peyton's gun?
The gun were given to us by my grandmother to keep in Peyton's daughter in case of such emergency.
Yeah, so give it a vote.
Yes.
Okay.
So you gotta hurt her or anything. She's just one of us feel like
No,
we're
sir, we're just trying to figure out what happened, that's all.
and it's the last thing I'm hoping for.
Right. So you mentioned a couple times that Peyton, has been drinking a little bit, so she's pretty much.
But she wasn't doing anything wrong.
I'm not saying she was, I'm
No,
not saying.
I know, but she was being sweet to everybody, and the contact with everything was okay.
How much do you think you had drink?
I mean, I probably had about 5 beers and, probably had about 5 beers and, 4 of those Irish car bombs that, was together. I mean, I maybe had 8 or 9 drinks or so,
Okay.
but they weren't like, and it wasn't like drinking liquor, it was more like drinking beer, and
Yes, sir.
it was over the span of a few hours. I mean, I wasn't anything serious, so I was not overly intoxicated. If you want to test me out, you can.
I'm just curious, trying to get all the facts you can, that's all.
I understand that, yeah. But there's nothing over the ordinary.
Okay.
I know what's around.
At any point during the night, did you feel intoxicated, or you just felt like a little buzz,
It was
or?
a little buzz, but nothing out of the ordinary. It was,
Okay.
it was like another night in a square with my friends.
And being a college kid, I mean, we deal with this all the time, okay? And you know how you feel when you drink.
Everything was normal.
So I'm sure you've been a lot more intoxicated at some point in your life.
Right, exactly right,
Okay.
sir. But everything was normal. We were having a great time. Everybody was safe. I remember the bartenders seemed really happy that the bars were open and we were talking to them, and we saw some friends of ours we hadn't seen in a while, and everything was good and everything was all right. It was light and happy. It was a bad atmosphere. And this guy was right there with us. And everything was okay, and he seemed awesome. And I was just really happy, like I told you before, I was just really happy to have a new friend.
Right. But at this point, you're not really remembering specific comments that JC might have made to start making you uncomfortable.
All I can tell you is it was not normal. It was not right. And it was more along the lines of, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
Or I don't have to go anywhere.
Other than saying that, did he make any physical threats towards you, towards Peyton?
Other than the physical advancements, after I asked him to please stop, and the fact of, I'm not going anywhere, I don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
That's all I had to know.
Okay.
But is that not enough?
Was the defendant able to articulate a specific verbal threat that the victim had told him?
No, ma'am.
And did you give him multiple opportunities to tell you what the victim said?
Yes, ma'am. Well, like I said, I'm just trying to get as much detail as I can. The officers, with your initial statement, said that the JC made a couple other comments that weren't normal. It was.
I don't remember the other comments, I just know that it was not acceptable, and it was wrong, and it was weird. And I asked him to stop, and he wouldn't, and I asked him to stop coming closer, and he wouldn't.
Okay.
He would not stop. And I told him, you need to stop, or I'm gonna defend myself, and he wouldn't.
Okay.
Verbal, physical, doesn't matter. He kept physically coming closer. But verbally, he was saying things that were not okay with me, or the people I was with.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What was he saying?
It was more like, I don't have to leave. Like, it was something like that. It was like,
Okay.
I don't have to go, I can say what I want, I can do what I want. I said, no, you need to get off of my property, you need to leave. You need to step away from my home, or step away from my fiance. He wouldn't.
After you shot him, how much time do you think passed before you put the gun back on the car?
Oh, God, man, the time that passed between the time I shot him and the gun back. Like, almost instantaneous. I think I was right there, and I just put it back, and I don't remember what I did with it, but I didn't hold on to it, I didn't want to, I thought
But he was up and he was talking, trying to hold the
That's it,
breeze.
just stumbled back, and then he was, he was grass or something, I didn't, it didn't matter. I just felt bad, and I sat down, I went back to Peyton, and I told her to go up the stairs, and I don't know if she went in the apartment, but I think she crawled up, climbed up the stairs, walked up them, just stood there and watched, and I think I just sat there and waited.
Okay. Can you think of anything else right now?
Oh, all I can tell you is I felt red.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anybody, but was not gonna let somebody hurt me or those I love.
I understand. Right,
Also,
you
come with direction, I've been here for like.
I was just gonna ask you.
Yeah.
No problem. Now, I'm not talking my partner's here and
Can I call you or am I gonna get?
No, you're
murdered,
good, man.
tackled, or anything, or?
unless you give me a reason to, okay, but you're fine.
I'll trust you. Oh, man, I'm sorry.
You're okay, sir.
I stood up a few hours.
Hey, right here,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Stay right here.
And is that essentially the end of the interview?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, while we were talking to him, did you smell the odor of anything?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you smell?
Alcohol.
Do you recognize the person here in the courtroom today that you interviewed on the night of May 22nd of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you identify him by an article?
Gentleman in a blue shirt, wearing glasses.
The record will reflect that the officer has identified the defendant. At the time that you are going into this interview, had you had a chance to review the body camera of the initial statements of Melendres?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
They probably hadn't been downloaded yet. Everybody was still out on scene or doing what they needed to do. It takes a while for those body cams to download.
Now, I want to talk about some of the things that I heard in opening statements yesterday. Was the word sacrifice mentioned at all during that interview?
No, ma'am.
Was the word weapon used at all?
No, he said gun, but not weapon.
Did the defendant at all indicate that the victim had a weapon on him?
No, ma'am.
Was the word knife even mentioned?
No, ma'am.
Was the word prison mentioned at all?
No, ma'am.
Did the defendant indicate that the victim had a knife on him that night?
No, ma'am.
Was the defendant ever able to articulate a verbal threat to either Peyton or the defendant?
No, ma'am.
Was the word rape used at all?
No, ma'am.
Did he indicate in any fashion that the victim said he was going to rape Peyton?
No, ma'am.
Where did the defendant indicate the victim was during this interview and during the shooting? In this interview, where did the defendant indicate Peyton was?
Behind him by the stairs by the apartment.
And where exactly did the defendant say that he retrieved the gun to shoot JC?
From the center console of the vehicle.
After that interview, did the defendant walk out of the station?
He did,
Why wasn't he arrested that night?
because I didn't have all the facts yet.
What facts didn't you have?
Mr. Rodriguez's statement, anything else I might have learned from the officers at that time?
Had at this point a preliminary statement been taken at the hospital from the victim? Or do you recall?
I know somebody was there with him trying to get a statement, but I don't know if I'd heard anything at that point.
Do you want to get both sides of the story before you arrest someone for something this serious?
Absolutely.
Was your investigation complete that night?
No, ma'am.
After reviewing the full body cameras that you needed to, your interview, did you have any concerns after that first interview?
Some, yes, ma'am.
And what were your concerns?
That during,
Objection, Your Honor, opinion testimony.
When it goes to the nature of the investigation and how it proceeded and why.
overall,
What were your concerns at that point?
that there were some other statements made on video, like Melinda's body cam, such as rape and things like that. So I wanted to be able to get the other side of the story.
Did those statements match?
They did not.
Did you attempt to conduct an additional interview of the defendant in order to clear some of these things up?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you do that? And if you need to review any report that you made, you are welcome to take a look at that.
We had something set up for Tuesday, 5/26 for a re-interview. But Mr. King called me on Monday, 5/25, and said that he needed to speak to an attorney before he came back in and spoke to me.
And did you reschedule that interview?
I did not. I was waiting to hear from him or an attorney.
Were you ever able to meet up with him and talk to him and his attorney?
I did.
And when was that?
Monday, 6/1/2020.
Now, at this point, the defendant has already been interviewed twice, once on scene by Melendrez at the police station, and by you. Why do you need this fourth interview?
Because he'd been drinking that night, and also due to trauma of what actually happened. Sometimes it takes a few days for stuff to come back to a person.
On that 6/1/2020 interview date, who all was present?
Mr. King and then his attorney, Louis Martinez.
Were you expecting to be able to talk directly to the defendant on that date?
No, because I was told that he was not going to answer any questions.
Were you provided a statement that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it oral or written?
Written.
Do you recall who physically gave you a copy of the statement? Was it the defendant or the attorney?
Mr. Martinez.
And was that the attorney?
Correct.
Was the defendant present when this was given?
Yes.
And did the defendant do anything to you that indicated that the statement was his in the interview?
No, I was just told that that was his statement that he had written out and it was handed to me.
And did you record that interaction with the defendant and his attorney?
I did.
And have you had a chance to review that?
Yes, ma'am.
May I reach the witness, sir?
May.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 5, which is a copy of the interview with the defendant and the attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this and you have reviewed that full body camera video, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that a fair and accurate recording of the conversation that took place on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I'll take Exhibit number 75 and hand it to counsel.
What number?
75.
No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibit 75 is admitted.
May I publish to the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
This item, conversation with Josh, and so we prepared his statements, prepared statements, and I included some other information on. Okay, so at this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna review over the statements. Okay. Okay. Do you really want to talk about it? No, not a whole lot. I prefer to go ahead and do it in writing, right? Okay, I'll give you my card. Yes, sir. And that way, if you have any follow-up questions or anything else you need us to get, we'll be happy to go ahead and get that done for you. But that's how we prefer to handle it. Okay.
Is in the statement, any more clarification as to how Mr. King was feeling threatened?
There is some more clarification, I think. And so if you want to wait for this, I think if we need to,
Now, while the defense attorney is preparing to give you that, to give the statement to you, or was the defendant nodding in agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's about as much detail as you can provide at this point.
Okay.
I mean, just in case that, that the other individual, that JC was making comments about his appearance, about the looks, about his woman. And that combined with the very suspicious way that he was acting, the erratic way that he was acting, led Josh to believe that JC has some designs on physically assaulting her, maybe sexually assaulting me.
And does the defendant continue to nod whenever the defense attorney is giving the version of events that are reported in that written statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's what's in there.
Gotcha.
But there's
Right now, I've got like 3 or 4 different comments that he's made that differ as to why he felt threatened. So that was basically where I was gonna go with today, is clarification.
well, that's the clarification that I provide you.
Okay.
I want you to look at that, but yeah, I found over it, kind of back and forth, so that's what's there, right? There's about a 3.5-page statement. Josh made a 2-page statement. But that's the extent to which, I'm not overruled, that's what we have to do.
Did you actually receive 2 statements that day?
Actually, several statements, just now.
Now, the written statements, whose did you receive?
Mr. King's and Ms. Payton.
And was Peyton present at this meeting?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever reach out to her afterwards and verify that that written statement was hers?
I did not, because I was told that Mr. Martinez was possibly going to be representing her too. I have to drive up today, no problems.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
I'm sorry?
May I approach the witness?
Yes,
Your
you
Honor?
may.
I'm gonna show you
Your
what.
Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
Hold on.
On video, with his testimony, handing over a copy of the report. On there, he affirming what the statement and nodding along with the statement. Additionally, any statement given by the attorney will be mentioned by the attorney. At this time, state off, I'm gonna show you what's been marked as state.
Hold on, just a moment.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as state exhibit number 74. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
74. What is it?
It is the written statement that I was provided for Joshua King.
And is it a fair and accurate copy of the written statement that you received on that date in the video that's now in front of the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
State offer states exhibit number 74 and tenders to the defense counsel.
We renew our prior objection.
State Exhibit 74 is amended. The objection is overruled.
May I publish to the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
going to put a copy up on our screen, but I would like for you to read it out loud. And you can go ahead.
So it says Josh King official statement. Thursday, May 21st.
Sir, I'll need for you to slow down when you're reading.
Yes, ma'am. So Thursday, May 21st, my fiance, Peyton Price, and I decided to go out and have dinner and drinks with our friend Alexandra Lofton. We met up at Chimmy's at around 5:30 to 6. As Chimmy's was closed, we decided to go to Sean Patrick's. Three of us had a few drinks, caught up, and enjoyed each other's company. Alexandra was texting her brother, Chris, so we invited him to join us. When he showed up, I went outside to wait with him. We went in and hung out for a little while. The girls wanted to go to the craft house to wish Peyton's friend Charlene a happy birthday. I then said that was fine, but I needed to go to work first to check on a few things. So I had to do work around 8 or so, and as I got close to being done, I called them to let them know that I would meet them outside of Craft House. I then walked to Craft House and met with 3 of them. The 2 girls told me that they had already wished Charlene a happy birthday and that we should go back to Sean Patrick's as it was going to be an hour wait for us to get a table inside of Craft House. When we went back to Sean Patrick's, we waited outside in a line for about 5 minutes. During that time, my fiance Peyton and a man who was standing by himself struck up a conversation. Alexandra also talked with him. When we were allowed to go inside, Chris and Peyton went to get a table. I stood in line to get Peyton and me a drink, and Alexandra did the same for herself. The 3 of us, Alexandra and myself and the man, JC, stood up there as Alexandra paced her order. She then asked him if he wanted to hang out with us, which he replied yes. So immediately after, when I placed my order, I asked him if he wanted a chair, to which he also said yes. At that point, we all went to the table and shared conversations over drinks. At some point during the conversation, jail and prison were brought up, but I am not sure who brought it up. JC's reaction led to my fiance asking him if he had ever been to jail. He then told us that he had. When she asked him why he'd gone to prison, he said he had driven under the influence and had gotten into an accident. He said that his then wife had gotten hurt in the crash and the state decided to press charges. At this point, I was a bit concerned, but he then turned to me and said that he had gotten out 3 months early and wished that he hadn't. The conversation ended with people make mistakes. The girls and Chris still seemed comfortable with him being there, so I thought nothing of it. At some point during the conversation, we also learned his full name, Juan Carlos Rodriguez, and he also told us that he was 33. Shortly after Sean Patrick stated that they were going to close and they were doing their last call at 10, we finished up there and I left around 10:20 or so. The girls decided that they wanted to go to the bars when they opened at 12. We then decided to walk to Exxon to get some beer and to go wait for a little bit at the Vista apartment complex. When we got there, I told the security guard that I used to live there and asked her if it was okay if we hung out a little while until the bars opened. She said it was okay, so we waited at the Vistas until she asked us to leave around 11:40. We then put the rest of the beer in Peyton's vehicle and proceeded to go to the Green Parrot. We decided to leave, and somebody had the idea for JC to drive Peyton and I home and return the favor. I would call him an Uber to take him from my apartment to wherever he lived. JC seemed to be sober, and that looked like a good plan at the time. After Peyton laid down in the back seat and he and I got in the car, I was still a bit concerned about the information that he gave us earlier in the evening about being in jail. So I told him that I had a firearm in the vehicle, and I thought that he seemed like an all right guy, that if I needed to, I would defend myself and my fiance. I then took the gun and moved it out of the center console and made sure that there wasn't a round in the chamber, and then put it between the passenger seat and the center console. His response was like, okay, whatever. Excuse me. I asked him what song he wanted to hear, and then I played it for the drive to the apartment. When we got to the apartment, we were talking in the car, and I said, normally I would ask you if you want to stay on my couch, but I don't know you well yet. So are you ready for me to order you your Uber? He looked at me and just said, no, nothing else. At this point, I was growing more and more concerned and uncomfortable, but I figured that he just wanted to talk a little more and I didn't want to agitate him. I'm not sure exactly what he said next, but I know that when we got out of the car and I walked over to the driver's side to lock the driver's side door and wake Peyton to get her out of the back seat and up to the apartment. I remember us talking about nothing serious or important. We must have only been talking for a short time, but then he started talking about Peyton's physical appearance and looks and getting very inappropriate and troubling. To put it as accurately as I can, I was scared. I realized we had made a terrible mistake by letting this guy hang out with us and trusting him to drive us home. He was standing towards the back of the car and I was standing by the open driver's side door. I wanted to get my fiance out of the back seat and go up to my apartment, but he seemed to be agitated and I didn't want to get close to him. I remember telling him to go and leave multiple times and him somewhat pacing back and forth by the back of the car closer to me and then further away. I don't remember exactly what he was saying to me, but he looked unhappy and refused to leave every time I told him to go. And I told him plenty of times. I then told him that if he kept coming closer to me, that I would have to defend myself. I said that I had a gun in the car. If he didn't stop, I would shoot. And I motioned my hands towards the front seat. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he wouldn't leave. So I reached in, grabbed the gun, and he said, "Stop, or I'll shoot." And I chambered around. He made a move towards me and aggressively and said, "Then do it." I stuck out my arm and fired a shot in his direction. He seemed to jump back and said something along the lines of, "Now they're going to come for you." He then started to walk behind the car out of my field of view. So I believe I put the gun up and quickly opened the back door and yelled at my fiance to get inside the apartment because he was going to rape her. I told her police were on the way and that I would wait by the front gate for them to arrive. I made sure to stay in a spot where I could see Peyton waiting by her front door in order to make sure that he couldn't get to her without my noticing. The police showed up shortly after and told me to get on the ground. I did my best to do as they instructed. I was in fear for my life and the life of my fiance. He said something to me that made me think that he was going to harm me and my fiance, and he refused to repeated the request for him to go home and leave us alone. I did not want to hurt anyone. I did not want anyone to get hurt. I simply wanted him to leave. I made a decision to protect Peyton and me and would do the same thing again if I had to.
Well, during that, or inside of that written statement.
Ms. Henson,
Inside the written statement that you just read, is the word staff advice mentioned at all?
No, ma'am.
Did the defendant say that the victim had a weapon on him?
No, ma'am.
Did the defendant say that the victim had shown him a weapon earlier in the night?
No, ma'am.
Was the word weapon used at all?
No, ma'am.
Did the defendant mention that a knife was used at all?
No, ma'am.
In this case, and in this statement, did the defendant talk about prison?
He did.
Is this the first time that you are hearing from the defendant that he knew about the victim's trip to prison?
Correct.
And this is his fourth statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the defendant mention that the victim threatened Peyton in any way?
No, ma'am.
And was that comment about rape in that statement made after the shooting had actually occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the location that the defendant said the gun was located in that statement?
In the center console.
Can you take a minute to review your statement? Or the statement of the defendant?
He said he had the gun in the car. If he didn't stop, he would shoot. And I motioned my hand towards the front seat.
Now, did he mention where the victim was located in that statement? Should be towards the end.
So after he shot, he walked towards, behind the car, out of the field of view.
Did that to you indicate that the victim of that point, or that Peyton was inside the vehicle or near the vehicle?
No, ma'am.
During the remaining portion of the video that was introduced, did you request any information from the defendant?
I did.
What did you request?
Something from a doctor that would describe, Mr. King's vision,
And why did you do that?
because he'd made several statements, or a couple of statements before when I was talking to him, that he doesn't see like everybody else. He has problems making out features.
Were you ever able, or were you ever provided information regarding the defendant's eyesight?
No, ma'am.
Now, after you had that interview, what was the next step in your investigation?
So the next step was to get a hold of Mr. Rodriguez and interview him.
And did you make attempts to schedule an interview?
I did,
Ultimately, when was that interview conducted?
on Wednesday, 6/10/2020,
Where did the interview take place?
at his residence in Seguin.
And who was there?
Me and Mr. Rodriguez.
Were pictures taken of the victim's injuries at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever request any medical records on the part of the victim?
I did.
Throughout your investigation, did you learn whether there were any witnesses on scene?
I know a canvas was done, but nobody saw anything that I remember of significance.
Do you recall whether or not there were any statements made by two parties that lived in an apartment complex?
Question, Your Honor, leading.
Stay.
Now, did officers talk to Peyton the night of the incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you conduct a follow-up interview with her?
I did not,
Why not?
because Mr. Martinez had indicated that he's going to be possibly representing her also.
Through your investigation, did you learn whether or not there were any other parties that were out with Josh and Peyton that night?
No, ma'am.
Do you recall whether or not anyone else met them at the bars from the interviews?
That Alexandra, they went and said happy birthday to Shailene, I think it was. And then there's one or two other kids.
Did you make attempts to interview those individuals?
No, ma'am,
Why not?
because they weren't at the site of the shooting.
Now, in this case, there were blood samples that were taken. Were those tested?
No, ma'am,
Why not?
because at the time, we know who the shooter was, we know who the victim was, and there was only the victim that was bleeding. So we can infer that the blood on scene was the victim's.
Do you always send off blood for testing?
Not always, no, ma'am.
Did you send off any of the ammunition or the firearms for testing?
I did not,
Why not?
because there was only one gun to be involved. The ammunition came out of the gun. There was only one shell casing found, so it indicated there was only one bullet fired. We pretty much know what happened.
Did the shell casing that was fired and that was recovered match the shell casings or the cartridges that were located in the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Last witness.
That's
Officer Campbell. I'm David Watts. We know each other.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Watts, your microphone. Thank you.
You indicated on your examination that trauma can affect person's memory. Is that accurate?
You can?
Intoxication can also affect a person's memory. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
For example, taking those into consideration, if a peace officer is involved in a shooting, is there a waiting period before they get a statement?
There is.
How long is that waiting period?
I say at least 2 days, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head.
Why is it that you would wait 2 days to interview a peace officer who's been involved in a shooting?
Because things can come back to people.
In fact, you attributed some of the variations in his statement could have been the result of trauma or intoxication. Is that fair to say?
It's possible.
Was he cooperative with you, Joshua King?
Yes, sir.
Did you run his rap sheet to see if he had any criminal record?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Officer Campbell, did it appear to you, based on your training and experience, that Mr. King was trying to be forthright and honest with you when you were investigating that night?
For the most part.
Were you able to establish where, in fact, Miss Payton was, as far as was she in the back of the car or on the stairs?
Not definitively, no, sir.
Do you believe that Joshua King believed he was in danger?
Your Honor, objection. That is an ultimate question. That, first of all, it's speculation, and secondly, it is an ultimate question of fact for the jury to decide whether or not the defendant has reached level of self-defense.
Sustained.
Did it appear to you that Mr. King was worried about his fiance?
Yes, sir.
Did it appear to you that Mr. King thought she was in danger?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation. In my personal knowledge.
I'm asking what his perception is, not what another person is thinking.
Then that's irrelevant, Your Honor.
Sustained.
How many times did you talk to Mr. Rodriguez?
But one time.
Did you talk to him on the phone?
I did to make the appointment to come see him, yes.
So you only talked to him one time on the phone, to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Do you record, excuse me, do you record the phone calls when you went call and talk to a person?
Yes, sir.
And how many recordings of the phone calls do you have?
I didn't look at that specifically, so I don't know.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm handing you your CID notes. Could you utilize that to refresh your memory on how many times you talked to him?
So it looks like on 5/26, I spoke to him briefly. He wants to pursue charges. Spoke to him on 6/9. Made the appointment for Wednesday at 9 o'clock at his residence. And then on 6/10, interviewed him at his residence. 6/16, I guess I spoke to him and he said he wanted to follow through with the case.
Did you ever advise Mr. Rodriguez that if he didn't follow through with the case, the state would not pay for his medical bills?
I don't remember that.
Is that something you would have told somebody?
If they ask, I mean, with victim services, it does depend on whether or not they cooperate with the case or the investigation or not as to whether they would. So I have said that to people in the past, yes.
Do you have any question about whether or not Joshua King is visually impaired?
Well, he told me he was visually impaired.
Well, what's your observation of it? Do you think he was?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether or not on the night that he was shot, Mr. Rodriguez, did he in fact have a knife on?
He did.
Did he in fact have a Kubaton, a tactical pen?
Yes, sir.
And what are tactical pens used for?
Usually for some kind of self-defense.
Can they also be used in an automobile?
Not sure I understand your question.
Can you use a tactical punch or a tactical pen to break out windows?
Yes, sir.
To the best of your knowledge, do people use punches for the commission of burglary?
Objection relevance, Your Honor. There is no information from the record that that was being used in that manner, and even if it was, it doesn't pertain to this case.
The existence of a weapon and what his intent was on the night Mr. Rodriguez is an issue for the jury to decide.
Overall.
You repeat the question, sir?
Are you aware of cases where people have used tactical punches to assist in burglarizing cars?
I'm not sure if I've ever worked anything like that, but I'm sure it's possible.
And you indicated to the best of your knowledge there were no witnesses to the case?
Correct.
Have you ever heard of an individual by the name of Chavarria?
I remember the name in somebody's report, but I don't exactly remember specifically.
Hypothetically speaking, if you had somebody who overheard and may have seen what was going on, you'd want to interview that person, correct?
If there was clarification needed on something, yes, sir.
You talked to Mr. Rodriguez and he gave his story of what occurred, correct?
Yes, sir.
The way he described it, were they having an argument or were they just having a conversation?
Objection hearsay, Your Honor. The victim has been on the stand and told what happened. Anything regarding any additional statements would be hearsay.
And a prior inconsistent statement is admissible for impeachment.
To the witness who wrote it.
I'm sorry, to the witness, what?
To the witness who would have written it or said it. So if he wanted to impeach someone, it would have needed to have been the victim, Your Honor.
Prior inconsistent statement made to another person is admissible. Rodriguez's statements to him, which contradict his testimony, are admissible for impeachment.
Overall.
Did Mr. Rodriguez characterize the conversation with Mr. King as an argument or just a discussion?
I'm looking, sir. In the first paragraph, he said he had good conversations with Mr. King.
Do you recall, have you reviewed the video of your interview with Mr. Rodriguez?
No, sir. Not specifically for this driving.
Is there a video of your conversation with Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
Where you went and met with him in person?
Yes, sir.
And part of what he talked about on that video was that as a Christian, he didn't feel like he should pursue charges. And you had a discussion with him about whether or not he chose to or not chose to.
I remember that.
You remember that? When you are conducting an interview with a witness, you record it, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long did you talk with Mr. Rodriguez before you started recording your conversation with him? You recall?
Should have been pretty immediate.
Okay, it's not like you're gonna wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes talking to him and then turn it on.
No, sir.
Did Mr. Rodriguez ever indicate to you that he told Mr. King to shoot?
It's not my report, and I don't remember specifically from having the conversation with him. I'd have to see the video.
That's the sort of thing you would make notes of, though, correct?
That's something I wouldn't want.
You would make notes of if somebody told you they were confronting a person with a gun and they basically taunted or told the person, go ahead and shoot me.
Normally, I would say yes.
Is that an unusual action for someone to taunt somebody with a gun to shoot them?
Not in these days.
Not these days, is that what you said?
Correct.
Did Mr. Rodriguez indicate to you whether he ever saw the gun pointed at him from Mr. King?
I don't remember specifically.
Would it assist you to watch the videotape of your interview with Mr. Rodriguez so that you can refresh your memory about the interview?
Yes, sir.
Is it your under,
We're gonna stop for our lunch break. And you can follow up on that last question. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we will take our lunch break now. Please remember the instructions. Don't look up anything about this case. Don't talk to each other about this case. Don't text or tweet about it. We will begin back this afternoon at 2 o'clock. All right, so keep that in mind. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. Donkey?
All right, for the jury,